Welcome to Elite Academy 5. For those of you who have been to all 5 Elite Academies, the good news is you've almost qualified for a PhD degree. For those of you for whom this is your first Elite Academy, you're probably going to be wondering, what did I get into in about 10 minutes? To me, the science is a very important part, and I think you all know that. And from the beginning of our MLM endeavors, I was committed and remain committed to teaching the distributors, educating all of you in the product that you're selling. I want you to understand it. I realize it's complicated. I realize it's hard for lay people to really get their arms around the science, but you guys have done an unbelievable job. I'm amazed at the level of the conversations I have with you in the hallways now compared to what those conversations were like at the first Elite Academy or at ribbon cutting. So bear with me, you're doing a good job, and believe me, it's going to be important in the end that we know what we're talking about. Having said that, I want to get started. I'm going to be talking to you today about something that those of us who've been in this company for 5 or 6 years know as the Ohio State study. It probably doesn't mean much to you if you've come in the last couple of years. The reason it's almost a cliche is this study started 4.5 years ago. And about 6 weeks after it began, people said, where's that Ohio State study? How's it coming along? This is the way science moves. It moves slowly and deliberately. It's been a long time. This study was published, went online about a week before Christmas. It's still not there in its absolute final format, but it's in the public domain. And this is the study I want to tell you about today. It has a lot to do with heart disease and with heart surgeries in particular. It's complicated. Try to stay with me. I'm going to do my best to get you through this. Most of us are familiar with heart surgeries because we've all got friends and family who've gone through heart surgeries. I think a lot of people can say the terms cardiac bypass surgery or coronary artery bypass grafts, carotid endarterectomy, maybe. I'm going to tell you about that one too. When I tell you what it is, you're probably going to say, oh, I know people who've had that done. Angioplasty with stent insertion to keep coronary arteries open and the blood flowing. All of that has become a big part of our lives in the last 2 or 3 decades. And this study really relates strongly to what's going on in the realm of cardiovascular disease. This is the study, and I'm not going to jump into this right away. And if you read the title, you probably see why I'm not. The title is Protandim Attenuates Intimal Hyperplasia in Human Saphenous Veins Cultured Ex Vivo via a Catalase-Dependent Pathway. So if you understand that, you can go to the back of the room and you'll get your PhD degree right now. But by the end of this presentation, I'm hoping you will have some grasp of what this is about. I'm going to begin, though, because I know a lot of you are here for the first time, and for the last 2 or 3 Elite Academies, I've presented an extremely brief review for newcomers, answering the question, what is Protandim and what does it do? And it's still a question, and it's a very good question. I don't belittle anyone who asks the question, what is Protandim? And what does it do? And Protandim biochemically is a NRF2 activator. Well, that probably didn't tell you a lot more than you knew before I said that. But what a NRF2 activator is, it's something that delivers a biochemical wake-up call to every cell in your body. That's what Protandim does that's important, and I want you to understand how it does that. So here is how Protandim works, really in one single slide. This big blue oval represents any one of the several trillion cells in your body. And in the upper right, you see that little purple item labeled Protandim. That's one of the 5 active ingredients in Protandim. And so every cell in your body, if you take a Protandim, will be bathed in those molecules that make up Protandim. The first thing Protandim does when it approaches a cell is it binds to a receptor on the cell. What is that? Well, if this cell is your house, what Protandim just did is it stepped on the front porch and it rang your doorbell, right? That's how the cell interprets that. When that happens at your home, things happen inside. You may get up off the couch and walk to the door to open the door and see who's there. When Protandim rings the doorbell of this cell, something happens inside. That oval labeled a kinase. A kinase is an enzyme. It's a protein that catalyzes a particular metabolic reaction. It's activated, just as the chimes inside your house are activated when Protandim or someone steps on your front porch and rings the doorbell. Something happens inside. What that particular enzyme does, the one that just turned yellow, is it modifies a protein inside the cell. The protein that's modified is represented here by the little red oval labeled NRF2, NRF2. NRF2 is what biochemists call a second messenger. And to go back to the doorbell analogy, maybe your 4-year-old runs to the door, opens the door, and turns around, runs to the kitchen and says, "Mommy, Mrs. Smith's at the front door." That's a second message, all right? So Mrs. Smith rang the doorbell, and something happened inside your house that sends a message. Protandim does exactly the same thing. If you look at this red protein, it now has a little yellow circle with a P on it. That P is a phosphate group. So chemically, the red protein has been modified. It's been held in the cytosol, the main space of this cell, by a blue protein called KEAP1 that's holding it there, preventing it, if you will, from running into the kitchen. So maybe this is in the family room. But once it's been modified as a result of Protandim ringing the doorbell, that modified NRF2, that second messenger, is now free, and it leaves the blue protein that's been holding it, and it finds its way to the part of this cell where the DNA is stored. And the DNA is really the central blueprint that controls everything you are, everything your body can produce. And NRF2, chemically modified, released, running to the room where the DNA is stored, so this is your 4-year-old running into the kitchen, delivers a message to the blueprint that really runs this cellular household. The DNA is comprised of 25,000 genes, and they are blueprints that make every protein in your body, every enzyme in your body. This second messenger, NRF2, has been called the master regulator of survival genes. Survival genes are stress response genes. They enable this cell to get through tough times. Some of them are antioxidant enzymes, and we've talked about those from the beginning. When Protandim started, what we thought it would do is upregulate, make more of 2 specific enzymes. And at the last Elite Academy, I showed you what we now understand about how it works and what it does. Protandim upregulates at least 400, maybe closer to 600 or 800 enzymes, not just the 2 we were originally interested in. Among those enzymes are survival genes of all kinds, not just helping you to survive oxidative stress, but helping you to survive traumatic stress. Cells get injured, they respond, organs get injured, Blood vessels get injured. Today we're going to be talking about what happens when blood vessels are injured, and they can be injured by well-intentioned surgeons and physicians, and they respond in ways that can create problems for us. Problems not related to the original disease, but problems related to what happens next. When this messenger gets to the DNA, it finds every gene in the nucleus that's regulated by a certain kind of switch. Here it's labeled ARE. That's a switch. Every gene has a switch, just like every light fixture in your house has a switch. And the genes are expressed, their products are produced as that switch is sort of like a dimmer switch. As you turn it up, you get more production. You turn it down, you get less production from that particular blueprint. So protandem ringing the doorbell results in a reshuffling of those 25,000 blueprints in the nucleus of the cell. Hundreds of new gene products are produced, or more of them are produced. For another couple of hundred, they're turned down. Some of those are pro-inflammatory genes. They promote the inflammatory process. They're pro-fibrotic genes that cause scar tissue to be formed. So it's really a normalization in many cases, a readjustment of all the instructions being sent to that cell. That's what protandem does. That's how it works. The result is the upregulation or the increased production of all these protective enzymes called survival genes. This is a figure from the very first paper we published on protandem, and I'm coming back to this because it also relates in what I'm going to tell you today about heart disease. Here we're looking at a marker of oxidative stress, one of the most sensitive kinds of molecules in your body to oxidation is polyunsaturated fatty acids. Those are the things that make butter. It's a fat. It makes the membranes that hold your cells together. And if you leave a stick of butter on the table for a few days, it becomes rancid. It's interacting with oxygen. It's oxidized by oxygen. And it turns into a whole new set of products. Some of them are not tasty. Some of them don't smell very good. That's what we call rancidity, or rancid butter. And the same thing happens to the polyunsaturated fatty acids throughout your body when faced with oxidants, with free radicals. Here we're measuring that marker of oxidative stress in the blood of healthy people ranging in age in this study from 20 years old to 78 years old. And they're scattered around that line. But the line is a mathematical linear regression line. It's sort of the average thing that happens there. And what you see is that it goes higher and higher as you go from age 20 to age 80. And some individuals in the Middle Ages in particular are very different from others. So some of us sit on a couch and eat potato chips and watch TV. Others are training for marathons, and it shows in your levels of oxidative stress. Some of us take good care of our bodies, and some of us don't. That's why they're scattered. These people all took protandem for 30 days, and what happened is the levels of oxidative stress went from the red dots to the green dots. And if you look just at the green dots, you now can't really tell the 80-year-old from the 20-year-old. Everybody fell to that same low level of oxidative stress. And that's what we've been saying now for 6 years. And in this study, oxidative stress was lowered an average of 40%. If you were 78 years old, it went down about 70%. If you were 20 years old, it only went down about 20% because you were starting in a better place. All right, and what was measured here is called T-bars. That's an acronym for thiobarbituric acid reactive substances, not so important, but those are the oxidized chunks of polyunsaturated fatty acids. So is that relevant? Does T-bars mean anything? This paper was published in 2004, And it says serum levels, blood levels of T-bars, predict cardiovascular events in patients with stable coronary artery disease. And the conclusions down there found that it was an independent marker. It was actually a better predictor of cardiovascular events. I've said before, that's not an event you want to attend. It's not an event like this one. A cardiovascular event may be an attack of angina, chest pains upon exertion. It may be a myocardial infarct that takes you to your knees. It may be fatal. So there are a number of kinds of cardiovascular events. The important thing is the higher the T-bars, the more likely a cardiovascular event was to occur. We've also talked in the past about how oxidative stress is hypothesized to give rise to atherosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, and plaque formation. Plaque is the goop that accumulates in an artery and eventually may clog it. So you get into trouble if that happens. Your heart muscle depends on oxygen. If it doesn't get enough oxygen, that muscle has a hard time doing its job, namely pumping the blood. So this figure, if you look at it from left to right, is kind of a timeline. So if you look at the beginning part of this this represents an artery in your heart. You see the first thing there is LDL. That's LDL cholesterol. That's a protein that binds cholesterol. We're all obsessed with what our LDL levels are. But LDL is perfectly normal. In fact, you die if you don't have any LDL. What's important is to keep it low. And why is that important? It's because if oxidative stress enters the picture, it leads, if you jump ahead a little bit, to oxidized LDL. And that's what many cardiologists believe is the real trigger to atherosclerosis. Also early on, you see those blue cells labeled monocytes. These are normal immune cells that can become inflammatory cells. And those monocytes recognize the oxidized LDL. So if free radicals are high, free radicals attack LDL, oxidize it. The monocytes eat that oxidized LDL. They actually fill up with little globules of it. And they become activated inflammatory cells. And the histologists call them foam cells, which you see later in the sequence, because they look foamy. There are all these little bubbles of oxidized LDL inside the cells if you look under a microscope. And those foam cells deposit in the vessel wall, and you see there's now this thickening yellow, ugly deposit. It contains foam cells, it contains oxidized LDL, and it slowly starts to occlude, to close in the lumen of the artery. The lumen is the part of a pipe that's open in the middle. That's where the water flows through. If the lumen closes down because there are deposits on the walls of a pipe, then that vessel becomes compromised. And the real problem, the event that may be fatal, is when this deposition of this ugly yellow plaque in the vessel wall, when it breaks through that layer of Teflon that keeps blood from clotting, it's called plaque rupture. So if that layer of cells is breached and plaque rupture occurs, you will get an instant thrombosis, a blood clot that forms right at that spot, and that big blood clot will completely occlude the artery, and it may be fatal. So that's the progression of atherosclerosis. And we've talked before about how oxidative stress is involved in the early part of that process. But it's also involved in the later part of the process, and that's where this Ohio State study comes in. So let's assume, again, going from left to right here, that oxidative stress leads to atherosclerosis. It's a slow process, 30 or 40 years developing. An alarming part of this is that atherosclerosis begins with something called fatty streaks in the wall of an artery. They're now being seen in children as young as 10 or 12 years old. So they can begin in the first decade of life. It's a process that builds and builds, and by the time a person reaches 40, 50, 60 years of age, there's almost certainly evidence of atherosclerosis, probably in everybody in this room. It's a time bomb. And lifestyle can help prevent it. Good diet, exercise, all the things you hear about can help slow it down. And it doesn't have to be the thing that does you in the end, but it's a process. It's like if you build a new house, 20 years later the pipes will be rusty and there will be some corrosion and deposits. It might be still fully functional, but that happens. All right, so if atherosclerosis leads to partial or complete blockage of arteries, you go to a doctor either for a checkup or because you're having chest pains or for one reason or another. And if it's bad enough, there are 3 common surgical interventions that can occur. One is a coronary artery bypass. And again, I think you all have heard about people who have that. It's extraordinarily common surgery these days. Another procedure done by cardiologists without so much invasive surgery is angioplasty, and that's threading a balloon into that blocked artery, inflating the balloon. You can open it up. These days, initially it was just the balloon, and it was found out, sure, you can stretch that artery open if it's clogged by plaque, but within a month or 2, it starts to close down again, not surprisingly. Now what's done is a stent is inserted, so I'll tell you about that and show you some pictures of a metal stent that once the artery is opened up can help keep it open. It also has consequences and has medical problems produced by the surgery itself. And finally, carotid endarterectomy refers to the carotid arteries, big arteries in your neck that take the blood supply to your brain. Very important arteries, obviously. They too get clogged with plaque. And so you may know family members or relatives or friends who've had carotid endarterectomy. What the surgeon does there is he literally temporarily bypasses the clogged part, opens it up, and just scrapes out the gunk. And I'll show you a disturbing picture of that later on as well. All right, all 3 of these procedures have failure rates. They're not complete permanent solutions to the problem. And if you look at the 10-year failure rate, 10 years is a long time for a surgical procedure to improve your quality of life. But with coronary artery bypass surgery, after 10 years, up to 50% of the grafts have failed. They're either almost completely blocked again, or they have been completely blocked. And so often, coronary artery bypass surgery has to be repeated, or some other one of these other procedures sometimes can help. With stents and angioplasty, they don't even last that long. Sometimes 4 or 5 years is about what you expect from a stent, and I'll show you the reason they fail. And the same with carotid endarterectomy, a little better result there, maybe 30% failure rate after 10 years. But what we want to look at is what causes that failure rate, and it's our old nemesis, oxidative stress, again. Oxidative stress leads to something that was in the title of that Ohio State paper, intimal hyperplasia. So I'll show you what that means. And that's really the culprit that causes those opened vessels or bypassed vessels to clog up again after some years. Intimal hyperplasia is the problem. And what causes the intimal hyperplasia, at least in the context of the Ohio State study, was shown to be oxidative stress, something Protandim can help with. All right, do those words mean, intimal hyperplasia? It's simply a thickening of the wall of the blood vessel. So you might wonder, why didn't I say that in the first place? If you look at the cross-section of a blood vessel, what you see is there's several layers. If you cut a copper pipe open, there's just one layer. It's copper, all right? That's the wall of that pipe. If you cut an artery open, you'll see there are 3 distinct layers. So the pink circle in the middle is the lumen. That's where the blood flows through the hole in the pipe. And the innermost layer is called intima, which means innermost, all right? Physicians have a way of making things more complicated than they should be, maybe. The media is the next layer, that pink layer, and that means middle, or the one in the middle. And the outer layer is called adventitia. So there's three distinct layers. What happens when the intima proliferates? If that middle layer, those cells start to divide, what happens is the wall, that inner part of the lining gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And here you see it protruding into the lumen. If this happened all around, the lumen would get smaller and smaller and smaller. The media also gets thicker, and cells in the medium, largely smooth muscle cells, and some of those will migrate into the intima. So you get this thickening of the wall that can occlude a vessel. Intimal hyperplasia, this wall thickening, is an iatrogenic condition. What that means, you may go to your doctor for some procedure, you go back a month later for a follow-up, and he may say something like, well, you have an iatrogenic infection. And you're probably thinking, oh no, an iatrogenic infection. What that means is he caused it, okay? Not intentionally, it may have just been accidental, but iatrogenic means physician-induced. And Dan Royal can probably tell you there are lots of those things that are physician-induced because a lot of the procedures have consequences. And intimal hyperplasia is one of the purpose, and it doesn't require a malpractice attorney or anything like that. But it is caused by the procedure. All right, here are actual arteries. The upper picture is a cross-section through a saphenous vein. This one is from a pig. And you see those, it looks very much like the little diagram I showed you. So there's a big opening in the middle, that's the lumen. There's a dark intimal layer, a lighter colored media layer, and an adventitia around it. So that's a healthy vein on top. No intimal hyperplasia, a thin lining. And that vein normally lives in about 25 torr. That's how we measure oxygen. So the oxygen level here is 25. That vein deals with taking used blood back to the heart. That's why it's got low oxygen content. But the vein is built to live in that environment. The vein at the bottom is same vein, saphenous vein from the same animal. And this section of the vein was cultured at high oxygen, 125, so it's 5 times higher. And that's close, that's a little higher than arteries see, but it's close. Arteries normally see 100 torr concentration of oxygen. So that's the difference between veins and arteries. Veins carry low oxygen blood, arteries carry high oxygen blood. And oxygen, believe it or not, it is good for you. You die if you don't have oxygen. But you might be surprised if we took a healthy young adult rat who's breathing here at sea level an atmosphere that's 20% oxygen, 21% oxygen. If we put that rat in a plastic box and we gave him 100% oxygen, which is only 5 times more than normal, in 72 hours that healthy animal would be dead because oxygen is that toxic. 5 times more would destroy his lungs and the animal would die. So when a heart surgeon, and I'm going to show you pictures of how this happens, takes a piece of a vein from your leg and uses it as new plumbing to go around an artery in your heart, he's asking a vein to do an artery's job, and it's going to see much higher oxygen than it's used to seeing. And it does a good job, but it pays a price and it suffers. Why is artery bypass surgery done? If this represents, here in a very simple picture, an artery in your heart, and you develop plaque over the course of 10 or 20 or 40 years, again, you see the lumen of the artery is closing up, and the artery, by the way, is at 100 torr, it's high oxygen. So the surgeon will take a piece of vein from your leg And just like a plumber might put in a new pipe around a clogged, if you have a drain pipe and a tree has grown through it with roots, you'll put in a new piece of pipe to bypass the problem, the obstruction. And that's what this vein is used for. So on the surface of your heart, you have a bypass around it. Now, the problem is that vein, which should be seeing oxygen at a level of 25, is now seeing oxygen at a level of 100. It causes oxidative stress uniquely to this vein, and the result is the walls of the vein thicken and will eventually obstruct the lumen to the point where it may close up and clog. This is a picture of a heart that's just undergone triple bypass. You hear double, triple, quadruple bypass. That means how many clogged arteries had to be bypassed, all right? And the most important one is usually that one labeled LAD, the left anterior descending coronary artery, because that takes blood to the part of your heart that does the heavy lifting, the left ventricle. So it's got to supply that part that contracts to pump the blood through your body. In the last decade or two, surgeons have avoided the use of veins as much as possible. And so what you see going to that LAD is an arterial graft. So that artery has come from your chest wall. It's been dissected out by the surgeons. And the reason he's using that's a interior thoracic artery. It's a little redundant, so your chest wall gets by without it. The surgeon can relocate it, and that's an artery supplying a new blood supply spliced into the coronary artery south of the obstruction, so that the muscle below the obstruction now gets new arterial blood supply from an actual artery. Right, it's a good solution. That artery is more stable than veins because it's used to seeing the high oxygen. This is a triple bypass. So there were two other blocked arteries on this heart, and you only have one thoracic artery, so you can only use that artery once. In this case, there are two vein grafts. So vein was harvested from this patient's leg, and you see there are two vein grafts that are spliced in at the top end. You can see there to the aorta, so they get new blood supply. And at the other end, which you can't see in this case because they're on the other side of the heart, they're spliced into also two more blocked arteries. Right? Those veins are going to be more problematic than the artery. The artery has a 10-year failure rate, maybe as low as 10 or 15%. The veins, 50% or more will fail by 10 years. So that's the problem with this surgery. So where does the Ohio State study come in? And I'm going to quickly take you through the results. It measured the wall thickness in human saphenous veins that were going to be used for surgery. The surgeon removes more than he needs because you don't want to run short of pipe if you're a plumber. So there's leftover pipe every time a person undergoes bypass surgery. That's what was used in this study. They were incubated either at low oxygen, and that's described here as the freshly isolated. They don't change if they're incubated in low oxygen, or at high oxygen. And after 2 weeks incubated, where the only variable really is high oxygen, you get intimal hyperplasia, you get wall thickening. So this was done outside living people in a laboratory model. And so the blue bar is where the intimal thickness should be if you're looking at the A panel. The red bar is after 2 weeks at high oxygen, and the wall has already thickened several fold. And the green bar is the same kind of a culture, except protandum has been added to the culture medium. And so even in high oxygen, the protandum-treated veins have avoided intimal hyperplasia. The walls have not thickened. They're staying at the same thickness as in freshly isolated healthy vein. Here we're measuring the intima in panel A, the media, the next layer in panel B, and what you can see is with protandum in the diagram on the right, the intima and the media layers are still thin. There's a big opening in this pipe. It's conducting lots of blood. The bottom picture is what happens if the thickening occurs, the red bars, and you can see that the the area, a cross-sectional area, is reduced maybe by 80% in that diagram. So very little blood is now able to get through. So Protandim has blocked this process that's really the bane of cardiac surgeons, because they can do their surgery just fine, but it's the consequences, even years, begin sometimes weeks or months, but certainly by years. I think I'm not going to dwell on this. I don't want to turn you into histologists, and these pictures may be ugly. But if you look at just A, B, and C, and you say one of these is not like the other, you might pick the middle one. So even if you don't know what you're looking at, it certainly looks different. A is a healthy vein, freshly isolated. C is a vein incubated at high oxygen in the presence of Protandim, which looks a lot like A. The one in the middle that looks bad, and it has, you can see there, a neointimal layer, and it's very thick, so there's a lot of vessel thickening happening there, prevented in C by Protandim. If you look at the number of cells that are actively dividing, again, freshly isolated, healthy vein, very few dividing cells, incubated in oxygen, where it's going to see it if it becomes an artery or a replacement for an artery. A lot of dividing cells. That's required for that wall to thicken. It takes more cells. They're multiplying or getting thicker and thicker. Protandim, the right bar, completely blocks that intimal thickening. If we measure free radical production in these veins, A, B, and C are, again, fresh vein. B is cultured at high oxygen, and C is high oxygen with Protandim. And what we're looking for is the red fluorescent stain. So you can see in the red one, in the A panel, very little evidence of free radical production. B, a lot of it. And C, incubated with Protandim for the 2-week period back to the A levels. So it's blocking free radical production by scavenging those radicals. They're quantified in the bars on the right, so in the color code is the same. Blue is healthy, red, high oxygen, green, high oxygen with Protandim. So again, we see the protection. This is looking at lipid peroxidation marker. This one is very closely related to T-bars, which was in our original study. It's a specific component of T-bars, 4-HNE. And again, look at the level of 4-HNE in the blue bar. That's healthy. High oxygen, but with Protandim, it's even lower this time than the blue bar. It's better than new. It's better than the freshly isolated vein. But without Protandim at high oxygen, you can see a lot of this lipid peroxidation product, maybe 5 times more. And why is the vein protected with Protandim? Again, it's the same old story you've heard about in other studies. 3 important antioxidant enzymes have been sharply upregulated. Again, the blue bar is normal, healthy vein, incubated at high oxygen. The cells haven't induced the enzyme to protect them, but if we add Protandim, the green bar, all 3 of these enzymes are dramatically induced to provide the protection that you saw in the previous slides. This is another measure. In this particular case, catalase was focused on because there's a convenient specific inhibitor of catalase. Turned out that catalase is absolutely necessary, but not sufficient necessarily to provide the protection. But catalase is a key enzyme. That's one of the 2 we began this quest of Protandim studying, and it turns out to be certainly very important. So the conclusions are that the saphenous veins used in arterial bypass surgery suffer from oxidative stress, and that's no big surprise, due to the higher concentration of oxygen in the arterial blood that they're now asked to carry. As a consequence of the oxidative stress, intimal hyperplasia, or thickening of the wall, occurs, and that can eventually lead to reblockage or restenosis. You may have heard that term used. Restenosis simply means that what was blocked and opened up is now reblocked. And the important part for us, Protandim prevented this wall thickening in saphenous veins cultured at high oxygen, suggesting that NERV2 activation may extend the life of arterialized veins in vivo. And I want to show, kind of out of time, but I want to mention angioplasty very quickly. This is a blocked artery, and you see it longitudinally and in cross-section with a big yellow plaque that's occluding part of the lumen. Here, a catheter has been threaded into up through the aorta and into the coronary arteries. And this is a very thin-looking wire, but it has an inflatable balloon on the end. And outside the balloon is a little collapsed wire cylinder. This is like if you took a piece of chicken wire and made a cylinder, you could compress it down into a very thin rod. And if you inflate the balloon that's inside, you can expand that cylinder. So that's what the surgeon does. He locates this where the plaque is, inflates the balloon, and you can see that wire mesh cylinder now being inflated, expanded, and that holds the vessel open. Without that wire stent, that's what a stent is. Without the stent, the vessel would collapse when you deflated the balloon, or at least largely. And so here, after you expand the wire mesh, you deflate the balloon, pull it out, and now you've got an artery in the picture on the right in cross-section that has a wire cage holding that plaque against the wall, making sure there's a big lumen. The unfortunate part is this is 6 months later. These are from pigs. And on the left, you see a lumen that is wide open, and those little black dots are actually the wires in cross-section of this stent that's been expanded. So you can see it holding that vessel open. If you come back and look at another pig with another stent, but after 6 months, look at the difference. You can see that light pink tissue labeled intimal hyperplasia. That's a proliferation of cells that in only 6 months has closed that lumen down probably 80%. And that's the iatrogenic problem. It was created by placing the stent. The stent did a great job initially, but this is a problem with, and this is a bare metal stent. One of the ways medical device companies have responded to this is many stents are now coated. They're called drug-eluting stents or coated stents, and they have time-release chemicals that inhibit intimal hyperplasia on the metal frame itself. That lasts for a while, and it improves things maybe for a year or two, but not for the really long haul. So intimal hyperplasia is a real problem. Finally, this is carotid endarterectomy, the other procedure. This is the big arteries in the neck. And this is an actual picture of what a frequent location for the plaque develop is a fork in the road. So this carotid artery has a branch in the side of your neck. And that's where plaque often develops. This is what it looks like if the surgeon opens that artery. It looks like a big chunk of a cheeseburger caught in there. And what they do is they literally scrape. If you had a cheeseburger for lunch, I'm sorry, but they literally scrape that out and sew the artery back together. And it works with high success rate. I said after 10 years, about 70% are still fine. But that's a traumatic event for the artery. It's been opened up, the lining scraped out. And so these, when they fail, it's usually due to intimal hyperplasia as well. And so finally, oops, I thought there was one more slide, but maybe not. The implication is that 1.5 million people a year undergo this procedure. And that's a huge number of people who have processes going on that are almost surely going to lead to failures of these carotid arteries, bypass surgeries, the angioplasty, the coronary artery endarterectomy, a big market for something that can help prevent intimal hyperplasia And I think you're connected with a product that might be really useful to do exactly that. So sorry for overtime. Thank you very much.
One of our main goals here on Healing Quest is discovering new and natural ways to keep us all as healthy as possible for every year of our life.
That's why I think you're going to be very interested in this next story about some scientists I recently met in Denver who've been studying oxidative stress for nearly 40 years. Recently, they completed a human study on a new supplement that could keep us in our 50s and 60s as healthy on the inside as a 20-year-old. Sally Nelson spends a lot of time exploring one of the most incredible environments in the universe, the inside of a human cell. Dr. Nelson is Associate Clinical Professor of Medicine at the University of Colorado, Science Coordinator at a Denver company called Lifeline Therapeutics, and an expert on oxidative stress. That's something critically important to the trillions of cells inside our bodies. As this animation depicts, those cells are the source of the energy that keeps us alive. The energy-producing engines in our cells are called mitochondria. The process by which they burn food creates not only energy, but also dangerous molecules, shown here as red elements. These molecules are known as oxidants, or the free radicals we've heard so much about recently.
Free radicals that are generated in our bodies produce oxidative stress. And what free radicals do is they damage major biological molecules like DNA, lipids, protein.
That damage, that oxidative stress, is visible when we cut an apple open. The apple turns brown because oxygen in the air is corrosive. That same corrosion happens inside the cells of our body.
When your food and oxygen is processed in the mitochondria, you have leaks, and those leaks are free radical leaks. And these free radicals, if they're not detoxified as soon as they're produced, can go out and start attacking your biological molecules. And then you have cell destruction. That's why we have antioxidant enzymes inside the cell, inside the mitochondria, outside the cell. It's everywhere. We have antioxidant enzymes in our body. It's our defense mechanism to take care of the free radicals that our bodies produce.
The body's natural defense mechanism generally does a good job of protecting our cells until we're in our 20s. Then, for a variety of reasons, our cells begin to produce more free radicals than our natural defenses can neutralize. So cell damage begins. That damage increases as we age, unless we do something to help our body produce more antioxidant enzymes to neutralize the free radicals. A diet rich in certain kinds of foods, especially fruits and vegetables, can provide antioxidants to our cells and help in the fight against free radicals. But many experts say it's simply not possible to get all the antioxidants our body needs from our daily diet. So scientists have been searching for ways to help the body produce more antioxidants to protect itself. Researchers at Lifeline Therapeutics found the answer in 5 herbs with thousands of years of healing history.
These 5 ingredients have been used for centuries in Ayurvedic medicine, and it has a very extensive human experience.
The herbs, along with small amounts of other ingredients, were combined by Lifeline into a dietary supplement called Protandim. Steve Ocello and Reed Madison were 2 of the participants in a human trial at the University of Colorado to see if this new supplement could help keep their cells healthy. The results were quite good.
But after 30 days of taking Protandim, you went down to a very low level, as you would see in a 20-year-old or younger.
The study was published in Free Radicals in Biology in Medicine. After only 1 month of taking the new supplement, oxidative stress in the research group was reduced by an average of 40%. In one case, the cellular health of a 78-year-old participant was restored to that of a 20-year-old. And the benefits continued throughout the 4-month duration of the research project.
these ingredients all did one thing, that they induced our body's antioxidant enzymes. We've been searching for some method that would actually equip your own body to defend itself. And so that was the difference here. And so, yeah, we were very excited about the results of our study.
Steve Ocello and Reed Madison were equally excited.
In 4 weeks, I had a 38% drop in my oxidative stress level.
So it's a potential major breakthrough, certainly a life-changing event for me.
Protandim is now being made available across the country. Sally Nelson cautions that it's not a fountain of youth, but she says it can be a valuable tool in protecting ourselves from oxidative stress in an all-natural way.
The product itself is natural. It's derived from herbs, and the effect on the body is also natural. It induces our own natural antioxidant enzymes. You want to maintain health, and you want to have healthy aging. And so you do everything you can to protect yourself and maintain it from oxidative stress so you can get more years of healthy living.
Oxidative stress has been linked to as many as 200 diseases, so this could be a major breakthrough.
In fact, it's actually possible now to find out about your cellular health with something called the T-bars test. T-bars is an indicator of oxidative stress, and the test measures the amount of T-bars in your blood.
At least one national chain of medical labs is adding T-bars to their menu of services. Remember about 20 years ago when we all started checking our cholesterol levels? Well, it looks like we all may start paying attention to our T-bars as well.
If you'd like to learn more about oxidative stress or Protandim, we have all the links for you on the Healing Quest website.
Happy Friday morning, everyone. Yes, it is Donnie sitting here in the hot seat.
How are you? Oh, I got to have a hug. How you doing, John?
Great. Thank
nice
you
to
so
see you
much.
again.
This is so exciting that you're here.
Well, thank you for inviting
in
me.
our studio, your second time.
Yes.
And Sean is in California.
Yeah.
You're filling in.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun to be there right now?
Oh, my God. It's a blast. And we'll be checking in with Sean in just a moment. But how have you been?
I've been great, just working my butt off over at the Flamingo, doing 5 shows a week and working with that chick named Marie. You know.
Your sister, Marie?
Yes.
Yes, and how's she doing?
She's doing great.
She's doing fabulous.
Just enjoying working at the Flamingo.
You guys are there 5 days a week, and you also bump into George Wallace all the time?
Well, he does the 10 o'clock show, and by the time we're done with the meet and greet and everything, I'm coming back to my dressing room, and he's going into his, and he's so funny. He calls himself my black daddy. he's my black dad.
Oh, he's so funny. Who's on our show?
He's the
on Monday
greatest.
doing a
I love
fundraiser.
George.
It's fantastic. Do you know exactly how many shows you've done?
Last night, it's funny you should ask
Did
me
you tally?
706, I think, was last.
706.
Yeah.
How do you find the energy to keep doing it night after night?
Well, now the show evolves. You know, Marie and I change it up every once in a while, and so it keeps it fun, it keeps it exciting. The audience last night was just amazing. They were I love hecklers. I love when I do.
People heckle you?
Well, yeah.
Kind of, just to kind of
for
get
fun.
a reaction.
There's interaction with the audience, and I love that because it just changes it up a little bit and it keeps it fresh.
Keeps it.
And the band we probably have the best band in Las Vegas.
How many numbers do you think you do on the show?
Oh, I don't know.
It rotates out all the time?
Yeah, it changes constantly. I do this number called Yo-Yo, and the dancing, it was a hit we had back in the early 70s, and we do all this dancing. It just wears me out. It's my cardio for the day.
Well, you were the Dancing with the Stars champion in 2009. Where is your mirror ball trophy?
It's in the lobby of the Flamingo.
It is?
Yeah, it's in a glass case so Marie doesn't steal it.
I have not seen it. I have to go by there and check it out.
Yes.
And, every time my brother stays at the Bellagio, he says you're staring at him.
I am? Oh, the big Donnie and Marie picture on the wall. Yes.
Is that weird driving by and seeing that every single day?
I call it my ego picture. If ever I'm feeling bad, I just drive past the front and I look at it and say, that's me.
It's a pick-me-up. And you're going on tour to the UK and doing a holiday concert as well.
That's right.
When is that happening?
Well, that's the UK is going to be in January. Then we go to Los Angeles and Phoenix and Salt Lake City for the Christmas tour in December. So it's nonstop.
It is, and you do your radio show as well.
Radio show, yeah.
And then also we get a lot of comments. So people have been emailing me and saying they love how you look, like you're ageless. It's incredible. So
I have a secret.
What is your secret?
I have a secret formula, and it's a company called LifeVantage. They came up with a product called Protandim. Now, what causes the aging process is free radicals in our body, oxidative stress. This Protandim stuff, I've been taking it for 2 years.
We have it on the table right there.
Clinically proven to slow the aging process down. It reduces the oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days.
That's your secret.
I said, whatever, you know. So I tested it, and it works. And the nice thing, it's not pharmaceutical. It's real food.
I'm going to have to give it a try.
Oh, you don't need it. You look beautiful.
I want it for sure.
But it works for me. I'm 94 years old.
I'm looking fabulous. And you know what? Your son is here with you. He made a big announcement yesterday, too.
That's right. He's going to have a baby. Well, his wife's going to have a baby. My fifth grandchild.
Your fifth grandchild. How many kids do you have, really quickly?
42 that I know of.
Do you keep a GPS tracking device on all of them?
Yeah, sure. No, I have 5 wonderful boys, and 3 of them are married, and 5 grandkids.
It's a handful, isn't it?
And I feel like I'm 20. Thank you, Protandim.
Hello, LifeVantage. I'm Donny Osmond. You know, with my hectic schedule doing the Donny and Marie show at the Flamingo in Las Vegas, all of the television appearances I do, my daily radio show, touring across the country, doing concerts, being a father, a husband, a grandfather. Yes, I'm a grandfather 3 times. It keeps me very, very busy, as you can only imagine. Here we go. Go away, little girl. I'll always be grateful that I was introduced to Protandim, and then my doctor, Dr. Daniel Royal, studied it. He ran tests, verified it yet again on me that Protandim does exactly what it's supposed to do. Thanks to Protandim, I know that I'm doing all I can do to fight the effects of aging and oxidative stress from the inside, and doing it naturally, helping my genes do exactly what they're already programmed to do.
I cry each night, my tears, I feel like a teenager again.
It's been quite a ride, and promises to be even more in the future and years to come. So congratulations, LifeVantage and Protandim. I think it's fantastic.
And I think LifeVantage has an opportunity to really prove that its product Protandim, it could be the #1 antioxidant supplement in the marketplace. How did you come up with this idea, Dr. McCord?
The idea for this came through 40 years of scientific research. It began with the realization that free radicals are produced in cells, that they do damage. And it wasn't until really recently that we, with the use of modern molecular biological tools, came up with a way of signaling our cells to make more of these protective antioxidant enzymes that can eliminate free radicals.
And this product is all natural.
It's all natural ingredients. The ingredients are very interesting. They've been studied and used for centuries in Ayurvedic medicine in India and in traditional Chinese medicine.
So it's a patented formula, and we don't want to give out the patented research information. But let's talk a little bit about, these are naturally occurring substances that have been found. You've just come up with a really unique way to formulate them to stimulate the body's immune system.
That's correct. And these 5 ingredients, the real secret to Protandim is the way these 5 ingredients work with each other through a process known as synergy. So together the 5 are about 18 times as effective as the sum of their parts. And that's the real secret to Protandim.
Dr. Perlmutter, you've done research for years and years on oxidative stress. What brought you to Protandim?
Well, years ago I studied the work of a Dr. Denham Harmon, and he was the pioneer of this whole idea of the free radical theory of aging. And what Dr. Harmon talked about was that these chemicals called free radicals, which are part of the process of normal metabolism, have their downside, and their downside is that they damage our DNA, they damage our fat, they damage our protein. So over the years I've been looking at my patients and asking myself, what can we do to improve that situation? In other words, to put out the fire, to turn off this process. And over the years I've looked at supplements, and more recently was made aware of Protandim. And I really have to say that what sold me was the science, and I really needed the hard science, because I have to stand up against the jury of my peers and defend my position in terms of the choices that I make for my patients day to day in my office. And the science is profound, it is sound, and interestingly enough, I mean, this is cutting-edge science that validates what was written in the Vedic text some 3,000 years ago, that things like turmeric and other of the components of this product of Protandim are powerfully effective. And I'm really happy to have this as a powerful tool to use in my clinical practice in dealing with patients every day.
You know, as a patient advocate, I stumbled upon Protandim almost 3 years ago. And I went on a search around the world to kind of figure out, okay, I know that there's Western medication, but is there anything I can do to complement my Western medication? Well, you know, as I did some research myself, just basic research, started to find out that, you know, it's oxidative stress. So what do I have to do to reduce it? So I started running around taking, I'm telling you, it was a period of time, I'm trying to eat as many blueberries as I can get. I'm trying to find anything in the marketplace. I won't say the names of some other products, but a couple of those products I was drinking 2 or 3 glasses of, thinking that it was helping me. Someone introduced me to Protandim. I just looked at the research and figured out, hey, wait a minute, I have to take 360 oranges in one day to get the same effect of one pill? Sold. You know, and that's what started me down this process. Now I'm thinking that I've added to my quiver, you know, a really, really, really vital weapon that will help me solve the antioxidant category. Now let's move over to the next one. And that's what really started me. So that's from a basic standpoint. And then when I find out that it's backed by clinical trials, it's backed by studies, it's backed by thousands of years of science, why wouldn't you use a product like this? Let's talk a little bit about that hard science, that the research that you've been able to do and to determine that if we can lessen the oxidative stress on the body, it has profound impacts across the board, does it not?
Absolutely. You know, we're crippled in Western cultures, and you know, we wait until a person manifests a disease and then we create these wonder drugs to treat the problem. You know, John Kennedy said something during his inauguration, I think that's very fitting, and that is, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining. And I really believe that. We've got to start emphasizing preventive medicine, keeping ourselves healthy. That solves our healthcare mystery. The issues of healthcare keep people healthy. They don't need to have this illness care. They don't need to have expenditures of these dollars to take care of these problems that are preventable. And putting out the fire, quenching free radicals, utilizing the best antioxidants that we can get our hands on is, to me, the key to health and longevity.
And when you say utilizing the best that we can get our hands on, there are other products in the marketplace that claim to, you know, you drink something out of a little bottle and it says it'll give you 1,500 antioxidants. Well, but if you really understood the science behind antioxidants, it really doesn't do you any good. Because you take 1,500 antioxidants, that's only 1,500 free radicals that are removed. So you need something that will stimulate your own body's ability to create its own natural antioxidants, and that's the difference in Protandim.
You're right, and you know, it's part of the program, though, as you've talked about, we've talked about together many times, dealing with things like lifestyle choices, the foods that we eat, the exercise that we get, the sleep that we get, the stress reduction techniques that we employ in our lives. But Protandim works in a totally unique way compared to your typical antioxidants, your vitamin C, your vitamin E, as you talked about. It speaks to our DNA. It turns on our DNA to allow those keys to be open the locks and open the floodgates for your actual physiology to create a program, an antioxidant milieu, environment that really is the key to allow your health to flourish.
When we hear, Dr. McCord, people say things like, you know, anti-aging, some people go, oh, come on, what's going to stop the aging process? But honestly, it's the oxidative stress on the cells that, and I know I'm doing this in a really, 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 you know, I don't know, base way, but that's what causes the lines and the wrinkles. That's what causes the appearance of aging, and this product can actually slow that down, and we've proven it, correct?
Well, aging to a scientist probably means something a little different than it does to the layperson. We cannot stop the clock. The clock goes no matter what. But there are many components of aging, and one of them is the cumulative damage that results from oxidative stress, from simply burning our food. Free radicals are byproducts. Free radicals do damage, and that damage accumulates. So anything you can do to reduce that cumulative damage may, in fact, manifest itself as appearance of reduced rate of aging.
Well, Dr. Perlmutter, one of the things I know that you said, and I agree, I started taking the product before several of the new clinical trials began, but what impressed me so much about this product is the fact that, LifeVantage and Protandim is not afraid to be put to the test. There are 18 clinical trials going on right now, I believe, around the world on this product.
That's correct. And these are well-respected institutions. And again, when you're in my position dealing with patients day to day, and you're telling them, providing them information, it's got to be rock solid, it's got to be sound. And I feel really good about that I can say this is a product that's stood the test, the peer-reviewed test. And you get back to this concept of life extension. We always talk about what can you do to extend your lifespan, but I think it's interesting to conceive this idea of what can you do to increase your health span, whereas you may not increase the number of years you have, but your ability to participate in life during those years, I think, is something we should focus on. And the way that we appreciate our health span is by remaining obviously healthy. We do that by maintaining the health of our bodies, of our minds, and that is predicated on reducing free radicals.
And welcome back to Dr. Noah's YouTube update. And I have one of my favorite patients here, Jan. And Jan's had some issues with her memory. She came up from, if you recall, there's some earlier things with her dementia and Alzheimer's that she was down in Southern California and was having some difficulty. Her daughter had been seeing me and was kind of, I gave her some optimistic things. And it sounds like you're doing great. Your daughter told me you're out going to the movies, you went out with your friends, and things are kind of going pretty well?
Yes, very well indeed.
And your memory's coming back, and it's nice.
Yeah, I have my little moments, but it's not nearly
For a woman 39, you're allowed to have your senior moments like that?
That's right.
Times two or three, but we won't do them too much like that.
I'm making real progress.
You are. And what the nice thing about it is that Jan first came in for her, obviously her not being able to have memories and stuff, but since that time, you used to have a cane. Where's the cane now?
It's at home in the closet.
Exactly. So that's the beauty of natural medicine, is that once again, we don't focus on any particular type of disease like Alzheimer's or dementia. We treat the whole body, get it well. And unlike drugs, and I'll be discussing about a new drug that failed in clinical trials for Alzheimer's, a couple $1,000s a month. What do you want? Something to work. Is that other things benefits? So now once again, you had a hard time moving around, you had a cane, and that's all gotten better too.
That's all better, yes.
Well, thanks again, Jan, and we'll do another update.
Hi friends, this is Darren Nielsen here, and I just want to take the next few moments to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a chronic pain sufferer for a long time due to lifestyle. When I was younger, I was a truck driver, and I didn't pick up things right, and I didn't carry them right, so I ended up with a lot of problems in my knees and my back. And about 13 years ago, I had a fall, and as I was getting in my car, I slipped on some ice and I broke my back. And I've had a lot of problems because of that. I had to take painkillers and physiotherapy, and it goes on and on. But a few months ago, I discovered a product that I kind of mulled over and hummed and hawed about it and thought, no, it's not, But the truth is a couple months ago, I actually started taking this product, and it works. The problems in my arms, I had a lot of tendonitis in my one arm, and wrists are sore and stuff like that, and shoulder problems, and all the other problems related to just age and injuries and lifestyle are gone. I don't have them anymore. My energy level has gone through the roof. I'm up walking around and doing chores, and just I get up in the morning and I just have to do something or feel like I'm going to explode. But I'm here to tell you that, with this product, it will change your life. Your quality of life will go up. Take the next couple moments to watch the preceding video, and it'll give you a little bit of information. Arthritic natural remedies. There's so many of them on the market, and most of them don't work. I've tried a few of them, and they burnt me. I tried these ones with capsaicin in it, and I spent a whole night in pain. Just, my wife having to rub Noxema on my back and try and washing it off, and then her hands were burning. That's not a cure. That's not a help. That's not a remedy. That's just more pain. And, taking all the pills, it's just more pills. And it's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a pus-filled wound. It's obviously not going to do the trick. You got to get to the problem with it. And they've proven it now that oxidative stress is the problem to arthritic pain and a lot of these joint inflammations. And there's a product out there right now called Protandim, and it deals with the problem. It doesn't just mask it or put a Band-Aid over that pus-filled wound. It gets right to the bottom of it. And you can watch the next video on the link down below. It'll talk to you all the scientific stuff that you want to know about it. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person who takes it and knows that it works. Give it a try. Click on the link below. Have a great day.
Back to Protandim updates. It's Saturday, and so I'm going to give you kind of the latest in terms of information. We'll talk about antioxidant stress, SOD, glutathione. These are other types of very endogenous, inside the cell type of antioxidants versus the exogenous or external type of antioxidants that you take in your blueberries and strawberries, which are great, but they're kind of limited in what they kind of do by a ratio of about 1 to a million. So today we're going to talk about autism. This is really something that I've seen over the last 30 years of my practice in terms of just exploding. And I'm sure there's a genetic factor, but as we discuss on my TV show and as we've discussed here, a landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2001 pretty much put that to rest. There was this old type of thinking, is it nature, is it nurture? Is it your genes, is it the environment? And they pretty much put to rest, and subsequent studies have shown that it's actually the epigenetics. It's the outside. 90% of your health and wellness is due to things which is the great news, that we have control over. 10% is due to genetics, and that has a factor to play. But it's not what the media plays and people that want to become victims. Oh, well, I have these bad genes. Sure, that has a factor, but as we've talked about with Protandim, a NERV2 activator, is that we're able to actually regulate, modulate, up and down regulate different types of genes and actually fix them, and we've talked about that on my TV show. So autism has just been kind of crazy. I've had great results, of course, using functional medicine versus the typical type of over-medication that doesn't work. But I wanted to kind of just go over, some of the factors that oxidative stress is an important factor, and that's what's so exciting to me is having this very rich scientific type of product that deals right to the core inside the cell, a million times more effective than regular types of other antioxidants in getting to oxidative stress. So in this article here that was published in Nutrition and Metabolic Insights 2009, decreased serum copper, zinc, SOD in children with autism. And so they've, over time, trying to figure out what's going on with these individuals. Very, very difficult behavior, learning. It's just a nightmare for everything. And like I said, modern medicine doesn't really offer anything, where functional medicine offers a lot. And in this article here showed that SOD of autistic children with significant lower in that factor. So their oxidate, once again, their particular type of problem with different types of oxidative stress or SOD, which would decrease oxidative stress, their SOD is lower. So if we're able to increase it, and we know that Protandim is able to reduce the oxidative stress between 40 to 70% in about 30 days. So a very, very important part of that health. Another article here in Life Sciences 2004. Once again, these are all peer-reviewed medical journals. This isn't just my opinion or what some drug rep comes into your drug doctor with. And in this study showing that they basically, autism is a neurological disorder of children with poorly understood etiology, the cause, and pathology. So it's really still a quandary. But what they were able to looking at, understanding that oxidative stress is the root of almost over 200 diseases. They looked at that, and they found out, in fact, that liver peroxide status in children with autism was definitely a problem. Is that increased, this is their quotation, increased oxidative stress may have pathological role in autism. So the story just continues, is that oxidative stress is a very major component of lots of diseases, and autism is one of them. Here in American Journal of Genetic and Neuropsychiatric Genetics, December 2008, is that autism is a behavioral-defined neurodevelopmental disorder, usually diagnosed early in childhood, that is characterized by impairment of reciprocal communication, speech, repetitive behavior, and social withdrawal. So that pretty much gives a nice little overview of what autism is. Although both genetic and environmental factors are thought to be involved, none have been reproducibly identified. And so that's what the science is showing, is that oxidative stress is starting to be reproducible and is a factor. And this study goes on in terms of looking at a particular type of antioxidant called glutathione, a master antioxidant, and showing had profound differences between autistic children and, quote, normal children. And the last study here from Arizona State University, new therapies hold promise as autism treatments. So once again, this is a leading institution, not a health food store, not a vitamin shop, not some grandma in the back closet there, something like that, is that they say 2 promising new treatments to aid people with autism have shown effectiveness in pilot studies conducted at Arizona State University. And those particular 2 factors happen to do with methylation, which is a type of compound, CH3, and we've talked a lot about a certain particular type of methylated compounds like B6, B12, trimethylglycine. These are all methylators, which have a profound effect not only on autism but heart disease. Glutathione, as we know, Protandim is able to increase up to 390% glutathione. And I actually had a little chuckle, a little offside, is that there's a number of products out there which are good. They're whey products, and I do advocate that for other problems, is that they were able to boast, and they were very excited because it is supported by science, that what certain whey products, and it has to be high quality, was able to increase glutathione by 64%. 64, 390. I know this is high math, but 390 is a lot bigger than 64. So that's an important factor. So methylation, glutathione, and mitochondrial functions. Now, this is something that really has been pioneered in functional medicine. This is something that most drug doctors have the kind of the deer with the bright lights in their eyes. Well, mitochondrial dysfunction. Well, what's that? Yeah. Well, this is once again the engine of your cells. This is where all the different type of metabolic disorders also originates in the mitochondrial, and that becomes a factor. In functional medicine or natural medicine does a very, very nice path, and we'll talk about that another time. So they recommended that glutathione, a primary antioxidant, provides a defense against toxic metals in the body. And that becomes an important part in terms of, once again, as we look as holistic doctors, autism as well as other doctors, we always look at toxins. Regardless of whether you have a problem with cancer, heart disease, autism, whatever it is, toxins become a big factor like that. Just like a dirty house is not a good place to live in, a dirty body is not too. So we will look at that where the medical profession pretty much overlooks that completely. So a couple little updates on Protandim. Hope that's helpful. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, I'm Michael Rohde, and this is my father, Orville Rohde. When I was just a baby, Dad was probably 50 years old at the time. No, you're only a 40-year-old man. But he agreed to adopt me, the last thing he needed in his life. So anyway, now I help him with his healthcare needs, and he was seeing a cardiologist, and the cardiologist was always amazed how good Dad was doing. Very happy. But this one visit, he was very glum. And I asked him, well, can anything be done? And he said, well, he's just an old man. And I learned about this amazing new supplement, Protandim. And there is a clinical study on it, not regarding heart failure, but regarding tissues around the heart. And so I was very interested in seeing if this would have any benefit for him. So without asking physicians or anything, to tell you the truth, I put him on. It's just a supplement, right? It's made up of 5 herbs. In any case, a few months later, we go back to the same cardiologist. And after he took Dad's vital signs and stuff, the doctor came back. And, well, do you remember what he told us, Dad?
Yeah, he said, what happened to you? What's the matter? He said, I would have given you about 3 or 4 months. Now I give you about 6 years.
Well, that was obviously a big eye-opener for us, and he did make a massive rebound. In 1 month, well, in about 5 weeks, he'd been to the hospital 3 times or more, 4 I think, in 5 weeks, and then he's been doing a lot better. Now, it's a condition that's going to continue, but in terms of that Protandim, it completely backed things up and gave him a better quality of life for quite a while. 2 other things you want to know about. Dad, to help him with his condition, every day for years now, he's logged his blood pressure, his heart rate, and his weight. And it's been amazing in terms of several other things. His blood pressure used to run in the 120s. Not bad for a 92-year-old man, 120, 130, and 135, over 84. I'm just scanning some numbers. Once in a while, 80 is this other number. But now look at his blood pressure numbers lately. 107 over 69, 106 over 60. See, he's lost about 20 points in upper blood pressure and maybe about 10 points on, I don't know the name. But anyway, he had a significant improvement in his blood pressure. So they're actually able to remove him from his blood pressure medicines. And there was one third thing you really should know about, and this one was a real shock to us. I'll tell you how we found out. We took Dad to another doctor visit, and he went to sign in, sign in at the doctor's office. His handwriting was beautiful. You see, for about the time Dad retired, about 40 years ago, even before, he had terrible hand tremor. Really bad hand tremor. Couldn't hold a cup of coffee without slopping it, really, don't you think? Is that, yeah. And now you can see, he doesn't have a cup of coffee to hold here, but you can see his hand tremor is just almost completely gone. So it's really been a miracle for Dad. We've enjoyed him for years to come as a result. You're so good. And been a real blessing in our life, and that's just something I want you guys to know about. So I hope you enjoyed this and found some value in this little message. I'm Michael Rohde. You can find me at michaelrohde.com. And that's it for now. So, thanks so much for listening. Thank you, Dad.
Hi, this is Guy of 180 Nutrition, and tonight I'm actually blogging about the next stage of my CrossFit journey, which is an experiment I've agreed to do over the next 3 months. Now, the experiment is the protection against oxidative stress. So if you don't know what oxidative stress is, it's simply an excess of free radicals that then attack the body, which, your cells, your protein, your DNA. Now, you probably heard the word free radicals, and then we have a defense mechanism, which is antioxidants. Now, the antioxidants are then produced to combat that. Okay, so free radicals are produced from daily living, environment, the air we breathe, to exercise is a big one, food, alcohol, lifestyle, and then of course the oxidative stress builds, and if we don't produce enough antioxidants to combat that, our body can actually break down over time. So where I'm looking at this is that I want to see if we can improve that through my exercise when I CrossFit. So I know a lot of people that put themselves under a great deal of stress just from exercising every day, and you will produce free radicals, and then depending how quickly you eliminate that through good nutrition will improve your antioxidant, and then that will naturally go on and improve your recovery. Now the other thing is as well is that I was actually a plumber for 10 years, and during that time I handled a lot of heavy metals, and I know for a fact through dealing with naturopath and a few other sources that them heavy metals my body still eliminating to this day, which creates free radicals. Now the experiment to do is this natural supplement is called Protandim. I have no financial gain whatsoever from it. It's just purely out of curiosity. So what I've done is I've agreed with Daniel. Daniel's the actual distributor of Protandim here in Australia. Is that I've gone and had blood tests to look at where my oxidative stress levels are at, along with a few other tests which are in the blog. And then I'm going to take one Protandim a day for 3 months and just carry on like I am. I eat pretty cleanly. I train pretty hard 4 to 5 times a week, you know, and I'm not going to change my lifestyle at all. But then after the 3 months, I'm going to retest the situation and see if this actually works or not. So what Protandim is claiming is that it speeds up the process of eliminating the free radicals. A really good analogy is just like a car with the exhaust pipe. So you've got a set circumference and it's eliminating the fumes. So what Protandim is saying is that it widens that exhaust pipe, allowing for greater volume to come out. What does that mean to you watching this? You don't have to be exercising. Oxidative stress is actually related to a lot more serious diseases, diabetes, cardiovascular health, Parkinson's. So the heavier things as well. So obviously, you know, health is a holistic thing. The food we eat, the lifestyles we do have all great influences on it. And so you can look at it from many angles. I'm looking at it from an exercise perspective. So I just wanted to put this video out there and say, yeah, I'm going to check it out. And I'm very interested to see what happens, because I think if it works, it could be a really cool thing. And it's something that I would want to look at more in the long term. If it doesn't, no harm lost. But I wanted to put that out there and share that with you. And if you've got any feedback or any thoughts as well, please let us know. Cheers.
You can see that the cells are, these cells that have a bright center are called annulocytes.
These ones?
Yeah. So the ones that look like a target.
Yeah.
So they're annulocytes, and that means the hemoglobin is oxidized inside. So this is oxidative stress that you can see.
So these are oxidative stress, and the non-ones are healthy?
That's right, and that's the white blood cell.
And what about the teardrop ones?
Those probably, that's attached to the glass.
Oh, right.
So that means that has a positive charge. So the cell membrane can have negative charge replaced by some positive charges. That's oxidation as well. Especially heavy. Now let's see. The majority of the cells are annulocytes. So it's a lot of oxidative stress on the hemoglobin.
So the oxidative stress, what could that have come from?
That's coming from the heavy metals, I'm sure.
From the heavy metals we picked up
earlier. Chemicals that are coming into the blood. And the liver is working very hard to detoxify, but maybe not enough nutrients that chelate the heavy metals. So you need something that binds to the heavy metals like chlorella or lipoic acid to help with that.
Hey, this is Guy of 180 Nutrition, and today I'm back for my results of the Protandim, and I'm here with Dr. Ranga. Now, apparently Dr. Ranga's just told me as well that just because I've just come straight from a CrossFit session, there'll be a true test to see what's going to happen. Now, he's just going to put me through this machine first. So what exactly is this?
This is called, I call it bioenergetic response and resonance testing device. It basically sends a small signal through the acupuncture point to the organ, and it challenges the electrical potential of the cells, so the group potential of the cells. And we challenge that, and if it comes back as a regular 50, we know the organ is healthy or cells are healthy. And if it falls below 45 or over 55, we know there's an imbalance. So you can get a good idea.
So it's a good way of like a precursor of actually tracking if there's something wrong with any vitals and things like that.
Yeah.
All right, so
okay.
We'll give it a test. So
you're holding this one.
Hold that.
So you can hear a sound. So we're testing the normal skin, and that's the dull tone that goes up to about 25. So when you hit an acupuncture point, you can hear the sharper tone, goes up to 50. So that's perfectly healthy. The small intestine.
Small intestine.
Heart.
Heart's
excellent.
good.
Adrenals, excellent. Hormones in general, good. Degenerative conditions, toxicity or toxic burden, food-related chemicals,
good.
Chemical sensitivity, it's all going to 50. Heavy metals, which was a problem last time, is balanced.
Wow.
Circulatory system, nervous system, large intestine, lung, lymphatic system.
So how accurate is this machine? For somebody that's never used it before.
Accuracy meaning basically there's more and more information that the cell membrane is a real representative of what's happening inside the cell and outside, like Dr. Bruce said.
Bruce Lipton.
Lipton's work.
Yeah.
So we are basically getting a response from the cell membrane. So it is, to me, I've seen 20 years getting very good results.
Yeah, fantastic. So far so good.
Excellent. So now we check your food points.
All right.
See if you can. We are checking the pancreas and the liver and all.
The foot's probably not the best thing to have on camera, but you might as well.
That's the pancreas, excellent. Liver.
Liver good?
Excellent. Joints. Stomach, all going to 50. Connective tissue, which is the storage point for toxins, that's also 50-55. Skin. Fatty tissue, another storage for chemicals, that's also good. Gallbladder, kidney, bladder, prostate, all good.
All good?
Yeah. Just see if you can hold it a bit lighter. Yeah. I'll check the other foot for the next point, spleen, which is different from
spleen. Wow.
That's the immune system indicator, so that's also perfect. So all points are 50 compared to last time. We had quite a few things that were out.
Fascinating. All right. The blood, nice little pinprick.
The first droplet is damaged from the puncture, so we cannot use that. Take that off. Let the second droplet come out. Okay, excellent.
That's it? So that's important.
Yeah, it should spread nicely like that. So this.
Because you could damage the blood otherwise.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, so.
Alright. So that goes under the microscope.
To the higher magnification.
That's the stuff we want.
Yeah, there's still a few repairing cells.
So which of them, if you could point at the repairing cells?
This one, this is called an annulocyte. The hemoglobin is slightly oxidized. It's repairing, it's not so solid. Do you see a big difference?
Massive.
I mean, this is after training, so you see some cells that may be still damaged. So just go back and find another area. It's a big difference.
So does that mean that the metals have been removing from my body as well?
Yeah, because it's binding and clearing the heavy metals. That was the main issue. You can see still some cells are not quite circular.
Yeah.
There's a bit of age cells, but that's to be expected.
Okay. So all in all, pretty good. I mean, that was. So I've been taking Protandim once a day along with the chlorophyll.
Yeah.
And I actually run out of lipic acid halfway through.
Yeah,
chlorella, sorry. And then, yeah. So there's definitely.
So you ran out of chlorella?
No, the lipic acid.
Lipoic acid,
Yeah, halfway through. I did come here, but you sold out.
Okay.
Right, there you go.
Okay, damaged.
2 types of cells, yeah?
And normally the cell should be really perfectly circular and the membrane is solid, nice and bright.
Yeah.
We saw some cells like that and some cells having this ring inside. That's oxidized hemoglobin. When hemoglobin is oxidized, it cannot bind to oxygen or iron, so your energy level can drop. But you don't have a lot of those, very few. But compared to the previous time, it's a huge improvement.
So that's
some cells we see on the video will have kind of like a fluid brightness, not completely circular. That means they are repairing.
Right.
So there are quite a few cells are repairing, and especially after workout, you'd see a lot more damage.
Yeah, and you're saying 120 days.
120 days for a red cell to completely turn over.
And I've been doing
cells.
it for 90 days so far.
So still
to the day almost.
Yeah. So in another month you will see much better.
One last question I got while we're on the topic. Would what happens if I took Protandim twice a day instead of the once?
Twice a day should be fine too.
Like morning and evening. Would that speed up the process more? Or?
I think for your level of activity, I would take 2. But beyond the 2, because there's a certain number of receptors that the active ingredients can bind, so the research shows that it will go through a increase and then the effect will not be there after 2.
And for anyone that's watching this out there, that not necessarily training hard, but just day-to-day life and wanted to increase their energy levels, and this is something they should be looking at, right?
Just 1 a day would be perfect.
And then give it sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
And that will help.
Yeah. For me, I'm taking it every day because every day we produce a lot of free radicals from our own metabolic processes. Like whenever you break down glucose for energy, you're producing huge amount of free radicals.
Yeah, right.
And the enzymes that protect those our cells can decline over with age and also with the toxic burden.
Okay.
So that's the definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey everybody, my name is Aubrey Huff and I've never made a YouTube video before, but I figured what way to share this incredible news and get it out to the masses than to share it through YouTube. A little bit about me. I played 12 years in Major League Baseball and in 2010, 2012 won a couple World Series with the San Francisco Giants. And in 2012, many of you may know that it was well documented that I had suffered from anxiety and had to take a leave of absence from the team. It was a point in my life where it was very debilitating. It was all in the papers, and I got a lot of well wishes from people, but it was still, in my head, it was pretty embarrassing. And this is tough to talk about now, but so I figured after 2012 I'm retiring because my anxiety has to be related to baseball. So I retired, and guys, that didn't help my anxiety whatsoever. In fact, it got quite worse, and to the point where that anxiety turned to depression, where I'm crying myself to sleep in my closet at night because I couldn't sleep. This went on for a year, and I'm going to therapists. They're pumping me through full of medications, which make me a walking zombie. My wife, who's a very supportive one, was starting to feel the burden of this. I was an absentee father, and I just needed a change. I needed something to happen. This was a tough time in my life, and I remember one day getting in the closet and just crying myself again, almost asleep, and I just had enough. And I got on my knees and I just prayed to God to deliver me from this, to heal me. And guys, I believe in the power of prayer, and I meant this prayer from the bottom of my heart, and I just vowed to give him everything I had. And 2 weeks go by, nothing happens. And I got a call one day from Sandra Krell, a nurse practitioner friend of mine from Tampa, Florida, when I played with the Rays. She was my nurse practitioner at the time. And I found it odd she called because I haven't heard from her in quite a while, and she asked me how I was doing. And I said, Sandra, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't feel great at all. And I'm explaining to her everything I'm telling you guys right now. And she said, I want you to do me a favor. I'm going to send you a bottle of Protandim. It's made by a company called LifeVantage. And I'm like, okay, what is it? Well, it caught my attention first off when she said it's all natural. And then she said, well, what Protandim does is it lowers your oxidative stress up to 40% in 30 days. And I'm like, hey, that's great. What does that mean? I had no clue what that meant. And how she explained it to me was this. So in your body, as you age, oxidative stress gets more and more and more inside your body, which causes free radical damage in your body, which causes inflammation, which causes diseases such as heart disease, cancers, arthritis, you name it, any disease. That's pretty much what oxidative stress, inflammation in your body, that's what causes all these diseases. So I'm like, okay, you know what, Sandra, at this point I'll try anything. So she sends me a bottle, and I take it every day for a month. And to my disappointment, that first month I felt absolutely nothing. But she urged me to continue taking it. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. By the second week of the second month, I start having pockets of these little flashes of happiness. Whoa, I haven't had this in a while. My depression was not that bad. I start sleeping better. And I start thinking, this is starting to work, I think. By the start of the third month, my depression was gone. I was sleeping every night like a baby. My anxiety, I still had them every now and then, but it wasn't at length and it wasn't as strong. And I started working out again like I did when I was 30. And so by the fourth month, guys, my anxiety, I still had some every now and then. I'm not going to lie to you. And technically you can't claim that Protandim has cured me legally, but something happened as soon as I started taking this stuff. But by the fourth month, I was working out again like I was 30. I feel great. And it's just completely, from the last 4 months, it's completely changed my life. So I shared this information with Sandra, and she goes, Aubrey, that's fantastic. I have story after story after story I'd love to tell you about this, the people that this stuff has helped. So she goes, would you like to get involved in the company? I'm like, what do you mean involved in the company? How would I do that? She goes, well, there's an opportunity, business opportunity through LifeVantage where you can get this out to the masses and help other people the way you are helping. And you can make some good residual income on the side. So I said, okay. Now, a lot of you may think, Aubrey, you made plenty of money. Why are you going to try and sell us on this? Guys, I'm not here to sell you on anything. I'm here to try and help you. People that you may know that are suffering from the same stuff I suffered from, cancers, diseases, whatever, you name it. In my opinion, every human being on earth, whether you're healthy or not, should take this product. And if this can help one person, then this is well worth it. And so she says, this company is called LifeVantage, and it's on the ground floor, and it's publicly traded on the NASDAQ. I'm like, okay. Now, come with me to a meeting up in Long Beach, California. It was a conference in Long Beach for LifeVantage. There was probably 7,000 people there. Person after person after person walked across this stage, giving their testimonies, talking about what this stuff has done for their life. Not only the product, but the company and what it's done for them to be able to tell their boss the stuff that I quit and spending more time with their family. I got so many friends of mine that are grinding their jobs, waking up at 4 o'clock every morning, going to work until 6 o'clock in the afternoon, getting stuck in traffic there and back, grinding it out every day, never seeing their families. And I'm listening to these people up there talking about how they told their boss to shove it, I'm out of here. And they're making $20,000 a month. They're making $45,000 a month. These are plumbers, electricians, regular people, man. Up to $100,000 a month. And I'm going, what? This didn't make any sense to me. So I'm seeing these people crying, giving their testimony, thanking the person that introduced Protandim and LifeVantage in their lives. So not only does this product Protandim help you get healthier, but it helps you become financially free. Now, I got so excited leaving that conference, I jumped in with both feet. My goal, my sole purpose in life is to start helping people. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I thought what I was doing in my baseball career, winning 2 World Series, was changing lives. It wasn't changing lives. what I'm doing now is life-changing. I'm proud to say right now I'm a professional network marketer. I thought I'd never say that. I'm a Pro 1. I just signed up my mother the other day. I'm getting her started. And I'm getting this out there to as many people as I possibly can because this is a revolutionary product. This is the future of wellness in the Western world, in the world for that matter.
I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic about 4 years ago. Up until late 2009, I had steadily increased my diabetes oral medications until I was at the point where I was going to have to go insulin dependent if I did not get my glucose levels and associated A1C test scores under control. I had essentially maxed out oral medication options. About that time, my chiropractor became aware that I was a diabetic, and he told me about an all-natural supplement that was technically an anti-aging supplement, but that he had been hearing some amazing success stories about benefits that it was bringing to both insulin and non-insulin dependent diabetics. The product was Protandim, and it was from a company called LifeVantage. I did a lot of research on the supplement and decided that I would give it a try. For all you non-diabetics out there, let me explain that the primary way of understanding the state of a diabetic's health and their ability to manage their diabetes is a test called the A1C test.
The A1C test serves as a marker for average blood glucose levels over previous months prior to the measurement, or in layman terms, your body's ability to efficiently metabolize glucose. A poor A1C test indicates poor control of blood glucose levels. Poor control of blood glucose levels have been associated with cardiovascular disease, retinopathy, and countless other negative and potentially life-threatening symptoms and diseases. When I was diagnosed with diabetes about 4 years ago, my A1C score was 13.2. Considering you want your A1C test to be below 7, this was pretty bad. Through oral drugs, I was able to get the A1C down, but still was struggling to get below that 7 mark. In October of 2009, I was still at an unacceptable 8.9 when I started taking Protandim. Then you can see in April of 2010, my A1C lowered to 7.3, and then in October of 2010 finally got below 7 to 6.8. You can also see on this chart that in June of 2010, I also was able to start reducing my oral medications. This is a big win for a diabetic. There are actually two big side stories to this that are worth telling. In addition to being a diabetic, I have always fought high cholesterol levels. You can see on this chart that in April of 2010, my total cholesterol was at 225, and bad cholesterol, or LDL, was at 159. By October of 2010, my total cholesterol had gone down to a very acceptable 138, and my bad cholesterol had gone down to a respectable 77. This is a 39% reduction in total cholesterol and a 52% reduction in bad cholesterol.
The second side story to my success with the Protandim product is that I had a fairly severe pain in both of my shoulders due to sports injuries and arthritis. About 3 months before I started taking Protandim, I essentially flipped a coin and decided to have my left shoulder operated on first to fix the injuries and to remove arthritis from the joint. I figured that I would have my right shoulder done about a year later, which would be sometime about now. After taking Protandim for about 3 months, I started to notice that I was having a reduction in pain from my right shoulder, the one that had not been surgically repaired. Now, after taking Protandim for almost a year, I've realized about an 80 to 90% reduction in pain from my right shoulder. At this point, I have no plans to proceed with the previously planned surgery to repair it. Obviously, I'm very happy with the Protandim product. You can see how it has made a material and positive change in my personal life. I've documented my diabetes success by publishing the actual lab result documents at the website link on the next page. Good luck, and I would love to hear of any of your personal Protandim success stories.
Hello there, my name is Michelle, and I am here to give you a testimonial about my usage of Protandim, which has only been about 40 days now. I am confident that most of the things Protandim is doing for me are internal and things maybe I can't even feel or see yet. things that are going to make me feel stronger and greater and hopefully live longer. However, it's very difficult for me to talk about Protandim and not mention what I have noticed in these past 40 days, actually probably the past 20 days, and that is the disappearance of my eczema. I have been an eczema sufferer since, probably 7 or 8 years old, eczema on my hands, and I have had difficulty holding pencils, holding pens, writing, washing my hands, tracking, you name it. Those of you who are eczema sufferers know what I'm talking about. It's very painful, it's very uncomfortable, and it's quite embarrassing. And I have had it quite under control in the last 10 years through different means, but I do still get flare-ups. And in the last 3-4 weeks, I have had quite possibly the softest skin on my hands that I've ever had. So I'm right now attributing that to Protandim and crossing my fingers, and I'll show you my hands that it stays that way. Thank you.
Welcome back to Dr. Noah's YouTube update, and we're going to talk a little bit about oxidative stress in terms of impact of a particular type of problem called fibromyalgia. Boy, I've seen this being in the natural field industry for over 30 years. This has gone all over the map like that. Originally, because it's a syndrome, most drug doctors can barely focus on one drug, one problem. So if you come in with lots of different problems, what they always do is blow you off. Oh, well, and it's mostly women, as we'll talk about. Oh, go see the psychiatrist. Well, I've done studies, I've talked about studies showing that fibromyalgia is definitely a particular physiological, and also psychological factors. Devastate people. I've seen it over the years. High-powered attorneys, doctors, high professionals like that, burn out, develop fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, which kind of goes along like that, and once again become total invalids. I mean, they're just totally incapacitated, totally disabled. So big factor like that. Once again, drug companies have nothing and drug doctors have nothing to do for it, except just, once again, throw lots of drugs. Great success in my practice and other people over the years there. So fibromyalgia is, once again, general weakness and stiffness, at least for 3 anatomical sites. Actually, there's a number of points that we have to do. You have to have 6 or more of them for more than 3 months. And you have fatigue, headaches, can't sleep, neurological and psychological complaints, numbness and tingling, irritable bowel syndrome, and variations of activities of stress and depression. So if you have more than those, you have fibromyalgia. So it's a devastating type of problem. It's, once again, there's definitely no solution in terms of drugs. They just, once again, go over all the different symptoms and give you all the drugs, and of course you never get better. So, unfortunately, I go through the science. What does the science say? Well, oxidative stress, as we've talked about many, many times, over 200 diseases, fibromyalgia is a big factor. Free radical and antioxidants in primary fibromyalgia. This was published in Rheumatology International Drug Journal, and they discuss that increased free radical levels are responsible for the development of fibromyalgia. Did you hear that? Maybe, could be. Let me see what my drug rep tells me and gives me a kickback so I can go to a nice little vacation, pay for all the drug companies before I kill my patients. Read it again. Increased free radical levels are responsible for the development of fibromyalgia. Thank you. So if you're able to decrease oxidative stress down to a baby in 30 days, that will have a major impact in terms of your health and well-being. There's no drug that can do anything like that. So that's what's so kind of exciting in terms of helping people get better. Another article in Rheumatology International. It's not my journal. I'm a natural medicine doctor. These are drug companies. Current concepts in the pathophysiology, that's what causes the problem of fibromyalgia, the potential role of oxidative stress in nitric oxide. Now, once again, there's another little thing, nitric oxide, which oxidative stress has a factor. There's another product that Cindy and I and other people know using arginine, special blend from a doctor here in the Bay Area that works great for nitric oxide. So those are some of my tools that I use for fibromyalgia, and they get better because, I do the science. I read the science. The scientists say this helps. You correct the problem, and you get better. Unlike, here, Mrs. Jones, take some more drugs. I'm making lots of money. You're on 35 drugs. Oh, good. Now my children can go to college, all paid by the drug companies. Nice. Oh, you're still sick. I've seen you for 20 years. You keep getting sick. How do you look at yourself in the mirror, looking at these patients, year after year getting worse, and what have you done? Nothing. Terrible. Really want to know how I feel about that? Thanks. Another study here in Redox Reports, which is a more chemical journal. Redox has to do with different types of chemical reactions like that. They showed that supplementation of antioxidants in the therapy is indicated. That's right. It didn't say, oh, you should think about it. It is indicated in terms of helping that. So that's what's so confusing to me. I read the scientific literature. I understand how this works. My patients get better. But once again, I don't have the access in terms of all the money that's wasted on all this crap that doesn't work. So the big thing is to correct this whole type of healthcare system is real simple. Give everybody, once again, X amount of dollars. We'll say $10,000. And if you want to go see your drug doctor, the quack, who once again spends $90,000, $80,000 a year, oh, you only have $10,000. Maybe you wouldn't go to see him or her. But right now, it's a blank check. Oh, I don't have to worry. I don't care how much. You ask your drug doctor, how much does this actually cost? They don't even know because they're not in reality. They, once again, bill out all these enormous type of things. We know we don't have the money because of debt, and that becomes a problem like that. Is that so if everybody had, once again, you have this in your account, and if you want to go see a specialist for $800 an hour that does nothing, maybe you wouldn't ever do that again. But you'll keep going to these specialists because, yeah, you're on Medicare, Medi-Cal, you have insurance. I don't pay. That's why I don't pay for that because I don't pay $90,000. Well, that's right, Mary. You don't. That means either I do or my grandkids or my great-great-grandkids are going to have to pay for it because that is an IOU. That's the big problem. As Dawn, Cindy's wife, told me about it, is that this would be like having a family that's making $50,000 to $58,000 a year. Okay? So unlike the government like that, you are once again spending $78,000 to $80,000 a year. Guess what? You'd be bankrupt real quick. But that's what the government's doing. So when your drug doctor is having these expensive things that don't work, that's putting the IOU. Plus you'd have a credit card debt that's around $320,000 to $330,000. No one on earth can survive that. Well, except for the government. And that's what the big discussion about the national debt is. It's a big, once again, Ponzi scheme. We take the money in now, we give people with their hats on backwards, watch some TV, which we already talked about another video. For every hour you watch, you lose 22 minutes of your life. Watching that kind of garbage that has no benefit, and then you're just happy. You vote for these criminals that say, hey, we'll keep doing this. So that's what the real cause of the healthcare crisis is that people don't have any type of concept of how much it costs. It doesn't really matter if it works because, once again, everybody's all doped up. So it doesn't matter if, the common drunk down at the bar who's drunk all the time like that, tragic. That's what everybody else who's on medication. That's what drugs are. Alcohol in a pill. It makes you drunk. Sure, when you're drunk, all your problems go away until you wake up the next morning with a hangover. That's side effects for the drug, and it doesn't get to the cause of the problem and causes more problems. So make me the czar of health, and within 24 hours, health and prosperity will happen in terms of the healthcare system. Vote for me. Thanks.
New product. I don't even know what it's called.
Protandim.
Hi, I'm Linda. A few weeks ago, my daughter was telling me about the new product. I don't even know what it's called.
Protandim.
Protandim. And as you can see in the background, I have tried every pill and every prescription that you can think of. So when she approached me about taking one more supplement and hoping that this would be the only supplement, in my mind I'm thinking, okay, here it goes again.
Mm-hmm.
My history is that when I was just a little tiny child, I began experiencing migraines. So much so that instinctively I knew that if I was outside in the sun, it would make me very ill. Those migraines have progressed throughout my many years, hitting almost the 60 mark. hoping that after I hit menopause that those migraines would go away, and they haven't. And in fact, they've probably increased in frequency and severity. So I have tried all the abortives, which are nice to have, the Imatrax, and I've been on tons of beta blockers and channel blockers and all of the other different stuff, but currently I'm not taking anything for those, I don't think. From my migraines in college, I was diagnosed with arthritis around my heart. And I believe that it is brought on by stress. I believe it's not an accurate diagnosis. I experienced it really, really bad when my daughter was born, and I had another child that was very much of an attention getter and needing my attention all the time. So every time I would sit down with my daughter to breastfeed, he would act up. And so there was a lot of stress and little sleep. And about that same time, I was also diagnosed with chronic fatigue and told to stay in bed for, I think it was 4 months or something like that. With little children, it's almost impossible, but I stayed in bed for a while. I now have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is my newest one, sleep apnea. I stop breathing, I guess, like 85 times in an hour. And as you can see, tons of supplements. We are doing an experiment to see if after maybe 3 months I will be able to take away some of these prescriptions. And so with reluctancy, I will give this a try, and we will do some monthly check-ins and chart my progress. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm just doing a check-in. It's been 30 days since I have started taking Protandim. Didn't want to take it to begin with, but I have noticed a change. One of the problems that I was facing was scheduling out my calendar and only being able to do one thing that took any much effort. And I could get through that, but I would be wiped out for days afterwards. I have noticed since taking this for 30 days that I am now waking up energized in the morning. I can make it through a full day, do an activity which there would be no way, or if before I did an activity, I had a full day, then the next couple days I would be down, and I'm doing this day after day after day. So it's, I've still got my hesitations, but so far I would say that this stuff is really working. And the other thing that I have noticed is that I have an increase in appetite, which before I just really had no desire to even eat. So that's probably a good thing too. And my daughter says I have more color in my face.
And the whole body.
In my whole body. I'm still waiting for it to help me with my pain, and I have not noticed any help in that department. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good. So this is just 30 days. We will check in another 30 days and see what my progress is.
Welcome back to Dr. Yu, and we talked a little bit about the irritable bowel syndrome, some of the actual problems that people have, and some of the etiology or cause of that. And one of the big factors that we've talked a lot about is, free radical formation. Free radicals are like acid. They destroy things. And as we talked about a particular type of compound that I'm very excited about, just talked about it being the #1 NERV2 activator, is that it is and patented actually for inflammation and oxidative stress reduction. That's what makes Protandim unique and special against any other. They're able to show in peer-reviewed medical journals, actually published in Free Radical Biology, we're able to reduce oxidative stress down to a baby in 30 days. It actually has a patent on inflammation. Well, irritable bowel is inflammatory bowel, inflammation. This has actually been patented to show conclusively to able to reduce inflammation. Another risk factor, as we talked about earlier on, in terms of oxidative stress, is a factor in irritable bowel syndrome. So if you're able to take a compound one a day to be able to reduce that in 30 days down to a baby, that's going to have a major impact in terms of irritable bowel syndrome. So that's what's so exciting to me in terms of this natural compound. As I've stated many, many times, if there is one thing that I took on a desert island, it would be Protandim, because it has such, once again, wonderful contribution to good health, preventing over 225 diseases, and dealing with real problems that people have. So Protandim is #1 in my book. Thanks.
As we mentioned, health news tonight is encouraging news on one of the big mysteries in medicine, MS, multiple sclerosis. Doctors don't know what causes it, but tonight some promising research shows a new drug may play an important role in managing the disease that often hits women during the prime years of their lives, including the wife of presidential candidate Mitt Romney. Our report tonight from our chief science correspondent, Robert Bazell.
Ann Romney is one of about 400,000 Americans living with multiple sclerosis.
What a welcome!
So is Lori Osco, who is among the 1,400 volunteers in the study out today, showing that a new pill called VG12 is easy to take and highly effective.
It's just been wonderful. It's just been a whole different aspect of dealing with MS.
In MS, the immune system that usually fights disease attacks nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, leaving areas of scar tissue that show up as white areas on an MRI brain scan. Often it strikes women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and men in later years.
MS can affect vision, movement, strength, sensation, bowel, bladder, sexual function, mood, cognition. Everything the brain does can be impaired from MS.
VG12 is not a cure.
We really don't know what sets this off.
Like the 9 other drugs already on the market, it reduces the number of nerve cell attacks called flare-ups, but more so than most others, and with fewer side effects.
It's a truly frightening disease.
It is.
It is expected to cost the same as the others, about $50,000 a year.
Hi, I'm Eileen. It's March 22nd, 2016. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 18 years ago. I'm now 48. I do have some residuals of being blind. I can't lift my arm above my head. I'm numb and tingly on my right side. I drag my right leg 90% of the time. But life is good for me, and I'm grateful for the experiences I've had, and I'm grateful for where I am today. I am here today because you are watching this video because someone has told you about Protandim, or that you happened on this video and you want to know what you can do to improve your quality of life. Protandim doesn't heal, mitigate, or diagnose diseases at all. What it does is it goes in, lets the cells heal so your body can heal. So things I have experienced over the last year, I started November of 2016. One, I'm blind in my right eye, but my left eye, I haven't been able to drive at night for about 3 years. It's just too dangerous and scary. It has improved my vision enough that I am driving at night. I also have numbness in my right arm and body. And after 6 weeks on Protandim, I started feeling temperature in the palm. I was washing my hands. I went, oh my gosh, my hand is hot. And I can feel temperature here, and I can now feel it in my fingertips. There's a lot of tingling going on. I also sat on a toilet seat January 2015 and went, it's cold. And I just sat there and I laughed because I didn't know the toilet seat was cold. It's winter, it should be cold. I didn't know I had lost temperature feeling in other parts of my body. My energy is much better. I am excited for life. I feel like I can have my dreams back. I put them in the corner because, as you well know, for those of you who have these kinds of challenges, once your body tells you no, you're like, oh, I can't have that dream. I'm going to shift it. But there is hope, and this product has done amazing things for me. I can't say what it will do for you. I can just say for me, I'm very grateful for being introduced to it from my doctor, and that I have a higher quality of life today than I had a month ago, that I had a year ago, and definitely over 5 years ago. So get back with the person who told you about Protandim, and if no one did, please contact me because I would love to share it with you and love to hear your progress as you get to experience a higher quality of life. Thanks, and have a great day.
Hey, Lisa, go ahead, if you will, and share with me what you just got finished sharing about your testimony with Protandim.
Well, I was introduced to the product of Protandim about 7 or 8 weeks ago because I have multiple sclerosis, and I was on 5 different medications to help me get through my day with MS, which one was phentermine to keep me awake, Ambien to put me to sleep at night, Cymbalta for neuropathy pain, high blood pressure medicine, and Xanadine, which is a muscle relaxer. And all of these medicines, it was every day, including 3 shots a week for anti-inflammatory reasons. And in 7 weeks' time, I have weaned myself off of every medication, and my energy levels are up, and I'm feeling wonderful, and I am pain-free, which is the most amazing thing for me.
Sounds to me like you're a believer.
I am a believer.
Yeah.
I think this product is for everybody to try,
Yeah.
and everybody to share.
Was you expecting all this out of the one crazy little product?
No. If it could just give me some energy, that's what I thought it was going to do. I never expected everything else that came with it.
All right. Hey, well, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Very much.
My name's Kalei Mendiola. Yeah, it's February 23rd, 2011, and I have early onset Parkinson's. I'm 42 years old, and today is the first day of taking Life Advantage Protandim. And so we wanted to document what my Parkinson's symptoms are right now.
All right, so let's take a look and see what type of range of motion we have with your arm.
Well, my left arm is worse than my right arm, so I'll just show that. Tend to hold it, and when I walk, it doesn't swing, and it's hard for me to do things. It's more of a rigid motion. As compared to my right arm, it's much better. What else should I do?
Maybe Put your arms out to the side. Okay.
Feel kind of funny standing here.
So what are you doing right now in terms of a protocol for?
Well, I'm eating really healthy, no grains, and no animal products. And I'm exercising in the morning and evening. So I'm doing kind of a cleansing program via Dr. Melter.
All right. So we'll check in with you every week and see how you progress on the Protandim.
Sounds
Here's
good.
to your health. 1.
Hi, I'm Calais, and it's March 5th, and I've been on the Protandim for 10 days now. And on last Wednesday, March 2nd, I noticed a difference in my arms and in the fluidity of them. I can do this much easier instead of a jerky motion. As you noticed on the first thing, it was much jerkier. It just feels a lot smoother, and that's really exciting. And hope to see more results. Hi, this is Calais again. It's been 20 days since I started taking Protandim, and I just wanted to give a quick update to say that my arm movement is still really fluid, and I haven't had any improvements in the tremors yet, but I do feel like it's actually I'm a little bit less overall. Although I am still having the tremors. I have been exercising, trying to do twice a day for 15 minutes, and I've been eating vegan, and overall I've been sleeping better, and feeling better, having more energy, and really excited about this especially because it's helpful for life.
Welcome back to Dr. Noah's YouTube, and I have one of my favorite patients back, and she has really a unique story, as we just heard a couple minutes ago with the other Cheryl. People come into my office with lots of different challenges, and it's really kind of inspiring to hear what can take place using natural types of approaches. And so, introduce yourself, start our story a little bit here.
My name is Cheryl Postuma, and in 1998, I was diagnosed with a prolactin pituitary tumor, which I no longer have.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to Protandim,
right.
I would say.
And just tell me about how the story you went through, you were treated, you had reactions. So kind of tell us story. So first of all, you're having problems, and I'm sure, how many doctors did you go to before you saw a specialist to find out that diagnosis?
Right. It took me, my daughter was born in 1991, my youngest. And if anybody's familiar with prolactin, it's the milk in your breasts, mm-hmm. and it never dried up, never went away. So from 1991 until 1998,
7 years,
I would go back to my gynecologist, miserable. My body felt like it was in a tug of war with itself.
Okay, we'll talk about being miserable. Miserable to me could be different.
Miserable as my hormones were fighting against each other.
Now, how did you feel? I mean, what kind of exposure did you have for your family, yourself?
I have never been a larger person, and by the time I was diagnosed, I was on my way to a size 16. I'm 5'11", so that's not large for me.
And right now, you're what size?
An 8.
8, there you go.
But that was my normal size,
mm-hmm.
and my patients were nil. My poor children, I would warn them that
Watch
my
out,
patients
mamas.
are this nil. And my mood swings were awful. My body felt like I was going through menopause and being pregnant at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And men go through this. It's not just women. Men also have to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing what's going on.
So for 7 years, you're in this type of chaotic
my
type of
body's
sense
in turmoil.
where every day you're not healthy, happy, people around you who love you.
Miserable
have to
is
walk.
a nice word considering what my body was
Right.
going through and my insides.
Mm-hmm.
Miserable is really a nice word. Finally, my prolactin levels were getting higher in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 90s. And my gynecologist kept telling me that when it becomes 100 is when you have a tumor. And he was warning me.
That's where you're kind of going.
Thinking that that's where I was heading. But in black and white book terms for a gynecologist, I have to wait till my prolactin level was 100. So it hit 111, and
7 years later.
Yeah, 7 years later. It took me that long, and so he sent me to an endocrinologist. My first endocrinologist was a joke, I'm sorry to say. On the verge of retiring and not wanting to take the time for his patients, put me on bromocriptine. Now, back then, I had very long hair. It was mid-back. And within the month that I went on bromocriptine, which I had to take every day, the side effects, my hair fell out to where it would just barely be shoulder length. I lost so much weight I was down to a size 4.
Now, at this point, the endocrinologist has diagnosed you with pituitary tumor like that.
Pituitary tumor,
right? And so now you're on
one pituitary tumor in my lobe. And your pituitary gland is in the shape of like a heart or a kidney bean.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one tumor in one of my lobes.
Right.
And I had the MRI, the blood work, everything. So taking the medication, the side effects were awful. And in 3 months...
I think you're kind of a whiner, hair falling out. You're not tough. I think you're Xena the warrior.
My husband would tell you differently. He tells me I never whine.
I bet. So your hair, what other kind of side effects are you having? Not only just the hair loss.
The fatigue set in.
Mm-hmm.
You get chronic fatigue where you literally want to become a couch potato.
Mm-hmm.
You in your mind you want to get up and move, but your body is just not functioning. You can't.
Yeah.
And I was a massage therapist at the time, and I think the only thing that kept me going is that I was also working with a nutritionalist on my diet to make sure I was eating the proper foods to get the energy. And even though it's a non-cancerous tumor, she treated it like it was cancer and put me on the foods that I should be on.
So there's two kinds of cancer. There's benign and there's basically malignant. But because of where it is, as well as other places of the body, benign can cause catastrophic type of problems. Because, your brain is like, a very hard type of vessel. Anything that starts to expand or puts pressure can cause, as you found out, terrible type of problems.
Right. And it was not bad enough to where I would need brain surgery, thank God. Which I would prefer to monitor it with medication.
Sure.
So 3 months into this misery, and this weight loss and the hair loss, and I mean chunks of hair coming out in the shower. Mm-hmm. People would come up to me and ask me if I had a disease and if I was dying. I looked that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the doctor and asked if there was another medication, and he told me no, which there was, come to find out. Anyways, 6 months into this...
Damn it, the internet, I just hate that.
I
You
know.
can just find all kinds of information. There you go.
6 months into this, he had me do another MRI, which my tumor was dissolved. Well, that's because that's what the medication is for, to dissolve my tumor. So he said, okay, you can go off of it. This was in November of 98. So I weaned myself off the medication, and by January I could tell it was back. I had the same symptoms as before. And I will honestly say, for a full year, I worked with a homeopathy doctor, and it didn't get me anywhere, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped with other things, but it
Right.
didn't get me anywhere as far as my tumor was concerned.
Which was your primary focus.
Right. So I found the Pituitary Tumor Network Association online,
Nice.
printed out their pamphlet, and called them and asked them if they had any doctors to recommend in California. Well, they recommended a doctor at UCSF in San Francisco.
Great.
So I went there.
Great university, yeah.
Right.
Great.
I went there, made my appointment, went there, had another MRI, a bone density scan, and a lot of blood work. And by this time, I had 2 tumors in my pituitary gland.
Well, you
One
want
in
you want
each
challenge
lung.
you want challenges. You don't
Of
one's
course.
too easy. I mean,
Of course.
and you probably still had some hair, so you just wanted
Barely.
to. Yeah, there you go.
Barely, no monthly cycle.
So that must have been
none of
very,
this
very
stuff.
challenging. You know, here you have 2 now versus 1. So that
And my bone density is a low normal, so I'm in the warning zone. I'm in the yellow.
Which is completely reversible. Osteoporosis is, once again, not easily, but very, very comfortably be able to reverse.
Right.
So that's a big deal there.
So this doctor, who I begged not to put me on the medication, informed me that there was other medication out, and it's been out for 3 years. Okay, so how long? It was 2 years that I was first diagnosed before that. So this is 2000.
And I think that's a really important part, is that just
Right.
like you want to go to a car mechanic, that it's up to date with the latest cars, not the 1950, you know, he or she's really good fixing 1950s cars, but something that's in 2010, 11. Doctors need to do that, and I'm always kind of, bewildered, saying, well, yeah, how come other doctors aren't like you, that you scan the research, it's like, I don't know.
Put the efforts out.
You have to put the effort out, because
to
you'd be
help
like
the
going to a
patient.
car mechanic in the 50s. Maybe a very nice person, but that's not going to help you, because cars are different than the 1950s
Right.
as they are in 2000.
Right,
So,
right.
so that must have been frustrating, is that for all those years, there were some other choices that should be
Because I
taken.
begged this doctor not to put me on medication.
Right,
and he
right.
says, well, we'll see what your bone density scan is. Well, because it was below normal, and it's a low normal, he says you have no choice. You have to be on the medication. Because when you don't have your monthly cycles, it takes the bone density out of your system. So I went on the medication. It was called Dostonex. And on this medication, there's much less side effects. There's like maybe 10 issues that come up. And I had 9 out of 10. I couldn't tell you all of them, but one of them is IBS, chronic fatigue.
IBS is irritable bowel syndrome, where your colon goes on and off, where you have constipation, diarrhea. It's a terrible. On my YouTube, we had a 20-year-old young guy here. It was just a terrible life, because he'd always have to be close to restaurants and to gas stations that had public restrooms.
Right.
He really couldn't date that well, so it was devastating, because once again his system could go like that, and he would have to either have an accident, which is not too much fun when you're on a date, or have to find that, and that's not much of a date if you're mostly in the restroom. So,
Right,
So
right.
within just 3 or 4 weeks, I was able to help him 80%, and now he's 100% better,
Good for him.
which is good for him. Yeah, he's happy
Yeah.
about that. So
And
IBS is a
also
terrible
that
thing.
IBS and the constipation, and it does cause hair loss, and you find that your system doesn't work well. Your fingernails don't grow. Your hair doesn't grow back. It breaks off. Your skin doesn't look good when you're on medication. And besides, you don't have your monthly cycles. So not only was I on the Dostonex, I was also on Lunesta to help me sleep, because it caused chronic fatigue. And even with that, I only had 5 hours sleep.
Right.
That was it.
And there have been recent studies showing that sleep is very superficial. You don't go really into the deep restorative type of sleep. So even though you seem like you're going to sleep, people still wake up. Yeah, I'm not as tired, but I'm still really fatigued, because it's a kind of an artificial sleep.
Right, right. And then I would also be on Prilosec for my stomach, and then on birth control to help me maintain my hormone levels and a monthly cycle that I should be doing. And on top of all that, this all had to be regulated. So it took me between 2 to 3 years to figure out. I started off with 1 pill twice a week. Then a few months down the road, it kept my prolactin level within the range, but it still went from a 16 to a 22, back down to an 18, up to 25, and I could feel it. I didn't feel good.
Well, these are very powerful type of chemicals in your body. Hormones, or the endocrine system is a very powerful thing. So a little bit of changes can have dramatic type of both positive or negative impact on your body.
Right, and it was a struggle. It was a lifetime struggle that I didn't ask for, that I was blessed with, I guess you might say.
Well, this was a challenge for you, right?
And my family had to deal with it, which, I really, really tried they would tell you sometimes, Mom, and I didn't think it was, sometimes your emotions were a little over the top,
Right.
and you're not realizing it because you're living with it every day.
Right.
So, and you're trying to maintain and have a normal family life that
Relationships and things like that.
exactly.
Mhm.
So, anyways, we finally ended up that I was taking 1.5 pills twice a week. And mind you, thank goodness for my insurance, because it would be about $800 a month to be on this medication if I did not have insurance.
Just for that, not the
Just-
MRIs, to see the
just for the
specialist, which is usually
medications.
$2,000 to $3,000 for a
Right.
visit like that. Which, what are they doing for that? Anyway, it's another question.
Right.
Never been
Just for the medication,
Yeah, uh-huh.
period. That's not including the other medications that I was on either.
Well, little side note, there was just yesterday, there was a big panel about a breast cancer medication that Genentech makes that's $10,000 a month, and they finally realized, hey, it doesn't even work. So at least it was helping you. There are things out there that have a lot more serious side effects, a lot more cost, and have that kind of difficulty.
Right. So finally, I think I was able to maintain a semi-normal life and help my children grow up. I have 3 children.
Nice.
Help them grow up, and they're all adults now. And a grandson I have, and just recently, my niece Nicole Bridge was calling me on the phone. Auntie, I have something that I want you to try. No, I'm take too many pills as it is, and it's all natural, and just look at the information. It took her months to convince me, and as natural as I am,
Right.
I was just ornery about it.
Well, you're just overwhelmed. I mean, you have so much going on. I mean, you just want to have one more thing to kind of do.
Right,
So that's
right.
pretty common.
So finally, I agreed to go to a meeting. And I did 2.5 hours worth of research on Protandim, which is from LifeVantage. I could not find anything wrong with it. Not one thing.
Well, it's 5 herbs by, as you and I know, Dr. McCord, who's the discoverer of a whole field called free radical biology. It's, again, it brought into the scientific realm what antioxidants and free radicals are about. So he was the discoverer of that. And over 40 years, he wanted to kind of give back to society something that would, once again, help basic principles of all diseases, over 200 of them. So he created this Protandim, 5 herbs, right? And then, yeah.
So I figured, what the heck? I'll give it a try.
Right.
I started taking it in August.
And it's 1 pill a day.
Of last year.
Didn't cost you $800 a month. It cost you $40 a month. Oh my goodness.
And I found that it made me a little sleepy, which was good. So I started taking it in the evening. And now that was like the 3rd week of August I started. By the end of December, this is still last year, 2010, by the end of December, I started getting lower back pain. So my sister says, well, maybe you have a bladder infection. Go to the doctor. Nope, no bladder infection. Then it's going up my back, into my kidneys, and I mean, it's really uncomfortable. Uncomfortable to sit, uncomfortable function. I found myself sitting on a heating pad. February 26th, I can tell you the exact date. I woke up one morning with my face and my hands so swollen I was unrecognizable. And I mean, when I say swollen, people don't realize that my nose was 4 times bigger than what it is. My eyes were swollen shut. My lips looked like I had collagen put in them. So I immediately called my doctor because I know that that's a side effect of my medication. So I called my gynecologist, and she set me up with an appointment with an endocrinologist because I didn't have one anymore. I was maintaining, and my gynecologist was keeping it under control, doing various MRIs and blood work and all the information needed to make sure that I was maintaining a proper level with my pituitary. So finally, like I said, I take the pill twice a week. Well, I was taking it Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. I was still waking up swelling on Thursday morning. So I cut back to 1 pill twice a week, and I was still waking up swelling. Well, then I decided to cut back to 1/2 of a pill, and I was still waking up swelling. to the point I couldn't put any rings on. I could, it was still uncomfortable. And what I did was I decided, it was March 13th, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not taking the medication anymore. Haven't been able to get into the endocrinologist yet. Had my appointment April 15th, so I went in to see her, talked to her about it, and that month that I was off the medication, I felt fine. I felt wonderful. And still taking the Protandim, never stopped. So the endocrinologist put me through a series of bone density, MRI, and blood work. And everything came back to where I was in really good shape. My bone density was still a low normal, because I'm sure it takes time to build that up after you've been that way for 12 years. I've been on the medication. When the endocrinologist told me I would be on it for the rest of my life, and that's what I would have to deal with. Well, after I was off the medication, I'm feeling wonderful. All the tests came back. I'm great. Everything's good. I decided to come see Dr. Noah. I met him through LifeVantage because the medication still stays in your system. So Dr. Noah has put me on a detox for 30 days. And actually, I've been on it for a week, and I've already lost 5 pounds to get the medication out of my system. Even to the point it's changed so much that I was recently at a family wedding, and my family was trying to accuse me of having facial work done because I look different. I look healthy. I look much younger, apparently, than before. And my husband's saying, no, she's had no work. She's still the age she is. But everything's fine. I feel wonderful, and I contribute it to Protandim because that is the only thing that I have done different. The only thing. And like they say, no matter what, it helps fight free radicals, and what your body does with it after that is what your body chooses to do. Well, my body chose to heal itself.
Hi there, my name is Nancy Levitt, and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I've had such amazing product results from using Protandim by LifeVantage, and I want to share that with you in hopes that you will experience some of the same things. The most important thing to know is that this product works 100% of the time. It's proven, it's documented, and it's measurable. And so I want to tell you what's happened with me and the symptoms that I was having and all the symptoms that have subsided. My background is in fitness and nutrition. I'm a mom of 4 and a wife, and very, very high level of stress in my life with the 4 kids and running a business. And I had real achy joints from teaching aerobics for so many years. And after just a few weeks of using Protandim, that subsided immediately. I was also using some anxiety medication, and I noticed that all of my symptoms from anxiety started going away. So my doctor weaned me off that medication, and I just feel very calm and very focused. I no longer struggle with ADD, and joint pain is gone. But the most profound thing that happened to me, otherwise, besides, I have more energy and I have better sleep. I don't need as much sleep. But what was really miraculous to me is I've suffered and struggled with skin cancer for years, and it was due to being a sun worshiper and being light complected and light eyed. I have fair skin and was in tanning beds for years and was outside for years, and I had suffered major skin damage. And actually, I've had several surgeries removing skin cancer. In fact, my entire top lip was cut off. I've had 10 different surgeries on my chest, spots removed, basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell. And I had 2 spots on my forehead that my doctor said needed to be removed and 1 spot on my leg. And I was using Protandim and also True Science. And I've been using the product for about 6 weeks. I wanted to wait to have this surgery done because, number one, it's obviously expensive, and it causes different scars and such, and then you have to have other treatments to help remove that. And so after 6 weeks of using Protandim and True Science, The 2 spots on my forehead completely disappeared, and the spot on my leg completely disappeared as well. And so symptoms of skin cancer, totally gone. I haven't had any issues. I've been on the product now for 6 months, and I just feel better and better every day. It's been just a miraculous thing for me. And our bodies do the miracles. You know, we have to really give credit to our body and the miraculous things that our bodies can do when given the proper nutrients and the natural remedies that are out there. So I just want to share that with all of you, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
In January of 2008, I was 32 years old, and I had a stroke. It floored me. It took me out of my practice. I wasn't able to practice for about 2 weeks. And it really hurt me. It really, physically and mentally, it hurt me. And I thought I was going to lose my practice. I don't know if you know this, but I have 6 children. Okay, 4 boys and 2 girls. I've got a big family. I've got a lot of mouths to feed. I've got a wife, kids. And so when I had this stroke, and I did a battery of tests, they couldn't find anything. They didn't know why it happened. They basically said it was a fluke. And so to not worry about it and to go home and never really think about it again. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? 6 kids, wife, there's no way I can not think about this. And so I asked, what can I do? Is there anything I can do to prevent this from happening again? And they really had no answers. The only thing that they could give me was fish oils. Now, if you take fish oils, don't take offense to this, but I can't stand fish oils. I didn't want to burp fish for the rest of my life. Are you kidding me? Disgusting. So that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to be taking fish oils. So, and it's not very well researched either. And so that was my quest to figure out, what can I find that would at least help a little bit, okay? And so a couple of years later, I still had residual symptoms. It affected the right side of my body. The whole side of my body was affected. And for 2 years. And then I ran into Protandim in June of 2010. Started taking Protandim. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it was a miracle. 2 days later, I woke up and I was symptom-free. I didn't take Protandim to become symptom-free. I'm a doctor. I understand that strokes that happen, that usually debilitate people for the rest of their lives. And so I wasn't looking for something that would take away my symptoms. I wanted something that would maybe help a little bit. Maybe prevent, maybe not prevent, but maybe even postpone. Okay? I didn't want to have one at 35. I'm 35 now.
Is there something in your family?
It's a genetic trait in my family. So I want to try to keep that from happening if I can. And so I ran into Protandim in June of 2010. I kicked it away because it was network marketing. I didn't want anything to do with it. Never done it before. But I understood. I thought I understood the model, but kicked it away. It came back to me several times. And the last time that it came back to me, I was asked to do some research for somebody. Not to get on it, not to do the business, but just to research it. So I dove in, started doing research, started taking the product. In December of 2010, I woke up symptom-free. And that was amazing to me. I had what was called hyperesthesia, which is an increased sensation. Felt like I was wearing fire for clothes on that right side. My kids would bump into my leg, and it would, it was jolting. And so who doesn't want their kids to come climb up on their lap? No, son, you've got to sit on this lap, come on. It's no way to live. But I can stand before you today and tell you that I'm symptom-free. I am absolutely symptom-free, and I've been symptom-free from that day forward. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim that it was Protandim. I don't know what it was. I know what I did, though. Okay? In June of 2010, I was doing nothing. I still have my symptoms. I started taking Protandim 6 months later from doing nothing, but just taking Protandim. I was symptom-free. So you do the math. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. My claim is unusual. That's not a typical thing to have happen. The really cool thing about this is that from being in this business, I've been able to bump into a lot of not very typical people. It's really cool. And so I'll put it out there. It's not typical results. My wife had increased energy, better night's sleep. She's always been anxious, and for her whole life, she's always been anxious. And about 3 months into it, she was no longer anxious. And she put 2 and 2 together. She was like, I bet it was the Protandim. I don't know if it was, but hey. Anecdotal evidence is okay. We don't have research out that says that, but we're getting there.